Dear beloved friend, the first light of morning is a sacred thing. Before the world rushes in with its noise and demands, there is a hush, a stillness that feels like the earth itself is holding its breath. The air is cool. The sky is painted with the soft brushstrokes of dawn. And something within you knows this moment matters. This is not just another morning. This is an invitation. Somewhere, someone woke up today with tears already pressing behind their eyes. Perhaps it is you. Perhaps you have been carrying something heavy that no one else can see. Maybe you have smiled at others while silently unraveling inside. You have gone to sleep with a weary mind and woken up with the same weight pressing on your chest. Grief, fear, disappointment, or confusion. It lingers like a shadow that follows too close. You have tried to shake it. You have tried to be strong. But lately, even breathing feels like work. Maybe your heart has been broken in a place that no words can reach. You have stood in the middle of your life, surrounded by people, and yet felt entirely alone. You have prayed prayers that did not seem to reach past the ceiling. You have questioned your worth, your purpose, your place in this world. And still, here you are, awake again, alive again, breathing again. That is not an accident. This very morning carries a whisper from heaven. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And no chain is permanent when placed in the hands of a God who still moves mountains. He sees what others have missed. He hears what you are too tired to say. And He is closer than your next breath. This is the moment before the noise, before the expectations, before you scroll or schedule or strive, where your soul can return home. Not to perfection, but to presence. Not to performance, but to peace. There is power in starting your day in conversation with the one who created you, who loves you, and who is not intimidated by your pain. What if today was not just another day? What if this morning became holy ground? You do not need to have the right words. You do not need to pretend you are okay. You only need to bring your honest self to the table. Because when you come to God with openness, He comes with healing. When you show up with questions, He comes with wisdom. And when you bring your brokenness, He meets you with grace. Friend, prayer is not a ritual, it is a lifeline. It is the sacred space where your heart speaks and heaven responds. It is not about performance. It is about presence. It is about letting go of the need to fix everything and learning to trust the one who holds everything. This morning, we begin a journey not of striving, but of surrender, a journey not built on rules, but on relationship. You are invited to lay down the weight, to step out of survival mode, and to walk hand in hand with the God who already knows every step ahead. No matter what you are carrying, no matter how long the night has been, the light is rising, and so are you. So take a deep breath. Make space. Let every word ahead be like water for your soul. You are not here by accident. You are not too far gone, and your story is not over. Let this morning be a turning point. Let it be a soft place to land and a strong place to stand. Let it be where your heart says yes to hope again. Welcome to the sacred beginning of something new. Let us begin. Dear Heavenly Father, I wake up this morning not with confidence, but with a quiet H that I can no longer ignore. The sky outside my window is painted with soft light, but my soul still feels dim and weighed down. There are no visible chains around my wrists, yet something deep within me feels held, confined, as if I have been living with an invisible weight for so long that I have forgotten what it means to feel free. I come to you now not with polished words or rehearsed faith, but with honesty. I am tired. I am uncertain. I am carrying things that I have tried to suppress, but they rise again with every sunrise. Lord, I confess that I have grown used to these chains. They are not made of iron, but they press just as hard. Shame, fear, regret, disappointment, they wrap around my spirit and whisper lies in the quiet. Sometimes I wonder if this heaviness is just part of who I am now. But something in me still longs for more. Something in me believes, even faintly, that there is still hope for a different kind of morning. I do not know how to break free on my own. I do not know where to begin, but I know you are here, and that is enough to take one step forward. I invite you into the places I have kept hidden, the quiet thoughts I do not voice, the pain I have numbed with distractions, the exhaustion that clings to my bones. You see it all already, but today I choose to stop pretending. I want to know what it feels like to live without carrying the past like a shadow. I want to rise without the weight of old wounds dragging behind me. I want to feel my heart beat freely, not guarded or ashamed. I want to believe that healing is more than just a word. I want to believe that freedom is not for others only, but also for me. Help me see what I have stopped noticing. Show me the patterns I have accepted as normal, but that are keeping me bound. Is it the way I think about myself? Is it the voice in my head that constantly compares, criticizes, or condemns? Is it the deep fear that I will always be one step behind, one decision too late, one prayer too small? Lord, shine your light on these places. Help me recognize the chains not by their noise, but by their silence. The way they hold me back without ever speaking. The way they distort my view of you, of myself, of what is possible. I know you are not afraid of my pain. You are not surprised by my struggle. You are not impatient with my slowness. You meet me here, not when I am whole, but while I am still unraveling. So I give you my weakness without apology. I offer you my fatigue, my hesitation, my doubts. I offer you the broken places in my history, the voices that told me I would never be enough, the memories I wish I could erase. I hold them up to you not as proof of failure, but as cries for mercy. I cannot fix myself, but I believe you can meet me here and do what I cannot do. God, I do not need quick answers. I do not need perfection. I just need you. I need to know that you are walking with me, not just beside me, but within me, working quietly even when I cannot feel it. I need to know that my chains do not define me, that who I was yesterday does not limit who I can become today, that your power is still greater than my habits, greater than my past, greater than my fears. I need to breathe again, not just air but hope. I need to rest in the truth that I am not forgotten and not forsaken. I ask for the strength to sit with discomfort without running. I ask for the courage to see what needs healing and not look away. I ask for the grace to believe that I am worthy of more than survival, that peace is not a distant dream, that healing is not out of reach, that freedom is not for the perfect, but for the willing. So I come, willing, though trembling, not with bold declarations, but with quiet surrender. Do in me what I cannot force. Teach me to walk without the chains I have known so long. Teach me to believe again. Let today be a beginning, not because I feel ready, but because I choose to trust you in my unreadiness. Let this morning be sacred, not because I am strong, but because you are near. I will not hide. I will not numb. I will not pretend. I choose to bring my whole self into this moment. The messy, aching, wondering self, and I trust that you will not turn away. I believe you are the kind of God who sees chains and still sees purpose, who sees weakness and still sees potential, who sees fear and still breathes peace. There is still pain in me, but there is also a flicker of trust, a flicker that says maybe, just maybe. I do not have to stay where I have been. Maybe you are already loosening the links I cannot even name. Maybe you are already softening what was hardened, breathing life where I felt dead inside. I do not need to see it all today. I just need the next breath, the next step, the next small glimmer of light that reminds me you are here. And you are not done with me. So I wait on you. Not passively, but with expectation. I lean in, even trembling. I let this quiet morning speak louder than all the noise that waits outside my door. I let this be a sacred space where something begins to shift, not all at once, but steadily. Maybe the chains won't fall in a moment, but maybe they will weaken today. Maybe a crack will form. Maybe something will give way beneath the weight of grace. I do not ask for fireworks. I ask for faith. I ask for the kind of peace that roots deep and holds fast. I ask for you to meet me right here and not leave me unchanged. God, I woke up again with the same quiet ache, but today something inside me feels just a little more open. The stillness of this morning is different, not heavier, not lighter, just more honest. Yesterday I began by offering you my hidden burdens, the things I could barely name. And though nothing outside of me has changed, I sense something inside of me shifting. Maybe the chains I have carried have not fully broken, but I can feel them loosening with each breath I surrender to you. This morning, I am not afraid to be seen, and I am not ashamed of the tears that are forming behind my eyes. If they fall, let them fall. I believe you hold every one of them. Lord, I used to believe that strength meant silence, that keeping it together meant pushing it down. I have been quiet for too long, trying to pray like someone who already had the answers, like someone too mature to break down. But you do not need my performance. You want my presence. So I come to you now, not hiding the tremble in my voice or the questions I carry. I come with the weight of disappointment, with the ache of what was lost, With the wounds I have not known how to speak out loud, and I let them rise, not to consume me, but to be offered to you. I cry out, not in rebellion, but in trust, because I believe you are the kind of God who listens when I can't hold it in anymore. You do not demand quiet reverence when my heart is in pain. You invite the groan, the sob, the gasp that escapes in the middle of the night when no one else hears. You draw near to the crushed places. You lean in when words run out, and all that is left is the sound of someone trying to breathe through sorrow. So today I want to silence what stirs within me. I will not label my tears as weakness or my emotion as failure. I will give them to you, one by one, like fragile offerings I do not know how to carry anymore. There are things I have lost that I never truly grieved. People, seasons, dreams. I told myself to move on, to be grateful, to keep walking. But buried pain does not disappear. It waits. And I think it has been waiting for this moment, for the silence of this morning, and the permission of your presence. I miss things I can't even explain. I ache for what used to be, and sometimes for what never was. There is sorrow here that I have never named, and fear that has lived like a tenant in my chest for far too long. I do not ask you to erase it. I ask you to meet me in it. I ask you to help me cry the tears I have withheld and speak the pain I have swallowed. I do not need a fast fix. I need healing that moves through the whole of me, spirit, mind, and heart. I need to remember how to feel without drowning in it. I need to remember how to hope without being crushed by the weight. I need to believe that crying out does not mean breaking down. It means breaking through. You made this heart of mine sensitive on purpose. You shaped it to feel deeply, to love fully, to mourn honestly. And now I offer all that I am sensitive, vulnerable, unguarded as a living prayer. I want to apologize for my ache today. I will let it speak. Because you are listening, God. I have learned how to function in pain. I have learned how to smile while sinking, how to serve while starving, how to say I am fine when I am falling apart. But I do not want survival anymore. I want wholeness. I want joy that is rooted deeper than circumstances. I want peace that does not have to pretend. I want to laugh again and mean it. I want to pray without holding my breath. I want to rest without guilt. I want to live unguarded, unafraid, and unashamed. But that begins here with the courage to fall apart in front of you, trusting that you know how to hold what I cannot. So I release the tight grip I have had on my pain. I loosen the fists I did not know were clenched. I open my hands and let the tears come if they must. Let the sound of my sorrow be a holy song in your ears. Let the weight of my sadness be met by the gentleness of your mercy. I have spent too many mornings trying to hold it all together. But now I understand that strength begins where my strength ends. That bravery is found not in silence, but in surrender. That true healing starts with raw honesty. I cry out, not because I lack faith, but because I believe you are near. I weep, not because I am hopeless, but because I still hope. If I did not believe in your goodness, I would not be speaking at all. But something inside of me still believes you are listening. that you understand the words behind the words, the H beneath the questions, the longing under every sigh. I believe you are the kind of father who collects every tear in a bottle, who sees not just the surface but the soul, who hears the unspoken and answers with compassion. I have learned to cry in secret. Now teach me to cry in sacred places. I have learned to bury pain. Now teach me to bring it into the light. I have learned to hold back. Now teach me to open up, not for the world to see, but for you, because you are safe, you are strong, and you never shame the hurting. You do not rush the process or offer shallow answers. You sit with us in the sorrow until the weight begins to shift, and you stay long after others walk away. So here I am, Lord, undone and still beloved, broken and still worthy, needing and still known. I will not pretend that I do not need you. I will not act like I can manage alone. Today I take the risk of showing you everything. My fear, my failure, my fatigue, my memories, my mourning, my questions that still sting. I offer them as a cry for help, a cry for healing, a cry for you to move in the way only you can. And I trust that you will, because even as I tremble, even as the tears form, I know this is sacred ground. This cry is not weakness, it is worship. It is the sound of a heart that still believes there is more, that still believes you hear, that still believes you care, that still believes that even here, even now, you are near. Father, now that I have begun to cry out and allow my soul to breathe again, I realize how many things I have carried without giving them names. I feel the weight of unnamed sorrow, but also the quiet call to look deeper. This pain is not formless. These burdens are not abstract. They have roots. They have reasons. And I sense you gently inviting me to look closer, not to accuse or to shame, but to understand what has held me back for so long. Today I come with a heart willing to see what I have avoided, to face what has lived in the corners of my life without permission. I am ready to start calling these chains by their true names. God, you are not afraid of clarity. You are not shaken by truth. You already know every part of my story, so I do not need to hide or soften anything. Still, feels hard to say out loud the things I have never dared admit, even to myself. But I am learning that healing begins with recognition. Chains lose power when exposed to light. So here, in the quiet of this morning, I will speak freely, knowing that you hold space for honesty, not judgment. There is fear that I have dressed in responsibility, pretending it was wisdom, when it was really a deep terror of failure. There is bitterness I have disguised as strength, pretending I moved on, when really I never forgave. There are lies I believed so long ago that they became part of how I see the world and how I see myself. Things like I am not enough, or I am too much, or I will always be left behind. These thoughts have shaped how I live, how I relate, and how I hide. I name them now not to give them power, but to release their hold, because once I see them, I can begin to surrender them. Lord, I confess that some of these chains feel familiar, almost comforting, even though they are hurting me. The chain of self-doubt has kept me from risk. The chain of comparison has stolen joy before it could take root. The chain of perfectionism has made me perform when all I wanted was to be known. These patterns did not appear overnight. They grew quietly, fed by wounds I never healed and words I never questioned. And I let them grow, thinking they kept me safe. But now I see they only kept me small. I want to walk in freedom, not illusion. I want to be whole, not polished. So I ask you to help me see clearly. Show me what I have called normal, that is actually bondage. Show me what I have adapted to that I was never meant to carry. Help me unmask the beliefs that keep me limited. Teach me how to hold the mirror of your truth up to my soul, not to condemn, but to clarify, not to shame, but to set free. I also name the silence. The times I did not speak when I should have. The moments I swallowed my voice out of fear of rejection or judgment. The times I let others write my story because I did not believe I was allowed to write it myself. I name the avoidance. The way I bury discomfort under distraction. The way I run from reflection by staying busy. The way I pretend not to care so I do not have to admit how deeply I do. These are chains too, even if they do not make a sound. I know that not every chain is dramatic. Some are subtle, invisible to others, and almost invisible to me. But you see them. You always have. You knew what I could not name yet, and you have waited patiently for me to reach this point, the point of awareness, of willingness, of openness. Thank you for being the kind of father who does not force me to see all at once, but gently leads me, layer by layer, moment by moment, until I am ready. Now that I am ready, I want to run from this moment. I want to retreat just because the truth stings a little. I believe that pain with purpose is better than numbness without growth. I believe that when I name these chains, you begin to unhook them, one by one, in ways I could never accomplish by myself. I trust that what is brought into the light becomes your territory. It becomes ground for healing, for transformation, for restoration. So I will not let fear keep me from honesty anymore. There is a chain of regret that tightens every time I remember choices I made or did not make when I felt overwhelmed. But I bring that regret to you now, not to relive the moment, but to release its power. There is a chain of control, the part of me that tries to manage everything, because I am afraid of being disappointed again. But I surrender that too, because I know control is not the same as peace. There is a chain of isolation, a habit of withdrawing, because it feels safer than risking connection. But I do not want to live hidden anymore. Lord, help me name these chains without clinging to them. Let the act of confession be the beginning of undoing. I do not want to wear what I was never created to carry. I do not want to protect what is actually poisoning me. I want to walk out of agreement with every lie, every wound, every false identity I have worn like armor. Let your truth speak louder than the voices I have believed. Let your love define me more deeply than any rejection ever could. And as I name these chains, I ask you to replace them with truth. Where I once believed I was unworthy, remind me that I am called and chosen. where I believed I was alone. Remind me that you have never left me, where I believed I was too broken. Remind me that nothing is beyond your healing, where I believed I had to earn love. Remind me that your love is already mine. I will not rush this process. I will not force answers. I will stay here as long as needed. This space of naming is sacred. It is not about fixing everything all at once. It is about finally seeing clearly. It is about honoring my own story and letting you shape the next chapter. So I rest here, open and honest, with hands not clenched in shame, but lifted in hope. I trust that the chains I have named today are already beginning to lose their strength, because you are here, because you are working, because naming is never the end, it is the doorway to something new. Lord, now that I have begun to name the chains that have held me, I see how easy it is to accept captivity when it becomes familiar. I look around at my life and realize how much I have built around my pain, not to heal it, but to make room for it. I have rearranged pieces of myself to accommodate the weight. I have told myself this is just how things are. I have lowered my expectations and softened my dreams to fit inside walls I never chose, but eventually stopped questioning. But this morning, you are stirring something deeper. You are opening my eyes to the quiet ways I have settled, and I can no longer pretend that resignation is peace. God, it is not that I love the chains. It is just that they became part of my daily rhythm. I got used to carrying heaviness. I got used to anxiety showing up before joy. I got used to holding my breath around hope. And the longer I lived that way, the more it felt normal, even safe. But now I see that what I called stability was really survival. What I called strength was actually avoidance. I have not been free. I have just been functioning. And there is a difference. You did not create me to simply endure. You made me to live fully, deeply, freely, with nothing held back. So I come to you now not with a dramatic confession, but with a quiet one. I have been afraid of freedom. Not because I did not want it, because I did not know who I would be without the familiar pain. I have wrapped identity around sorrow. I have drawn boundaries with fear. And I have mistaken the known for the good. But you are teaching me that just because something is familiar does not mean it is true. And just because I have adapted does not mean I have been whole. I need your help to unlearn what has kept me in these cycles. I need your spirit to gently peel away the layers I have used to protect what still hurts. Father, I see now that captivity does not always look like chains. Sometimes it looks like overcommitment. Sometimes it sounds like constant apologies. Sometimes it feels like a schedule that never includes rest. I have learned to tolerate pressure instead of pursue peace. I have silenced joy because it felt too risky. I have ignored warning signs because I feared what change might require. But I do not want to keep making room for what you came to remove. I do not want to decorate prisons just to make them bearable. I want to walk out, even if my legs still tremble. Teach me to challenge the inner agreements I have made with limitation, the quiet promises I whispered to myself to feel safe, like do not speak up, do not ask for help, do not expect too much. Show me where those lies took root. Show me the memories that planted them, and then speak your truth louder. Remind me that freedom in you is not reckless. it is rooted, is not about escaping reality. It is about embracing the fullness of it with courage. Knowing you are in it with me, I do not have to control everything. I just have to follow where you lead. I remember moments where I almost stepped out but retreated. I remember chances to choose differently, but fear sounded like wisdom. I can trace the paths I did not take because bondage felt safer than the unknown. But you never stopped inviting me, even when I hesitated, even when I froze, even when I settled. You were still there, whispering gently that there is more. You never mocked my fear. You waited until I was ready to see it clearly. And now, here I am, ready not to run but to rise. Lord, I surrender the stories I have told myself to stay in one place. I release the excuses that started as survival but became ceilings. I give you the fear of change. I give you the worry that I will fail if I try. I give you the voices that said I was not built for more. Ask you to rewrite what I have been repeating. I ask you to help me take the first step, even if it is small. I do not need to leap. I just need to move, because each step with you is a declaration that I am not a prisoner to my past anymore. I do not want to live my life around what I am afraid of. I want to live anchored in truth. I want to walk into rooms with confidence, not tension. I want to pursue relationships without waiting for rejection. I want to rest without guilt, laugh without apology, dream without disclaimers. This is the life you promised, not perfect, but full. Not painless, but free. You did not die for me to stay bound by my coping mechanisms. You rose to lead me out of grave clothes and into grace. Help me recognize the prisons I have stopped seeing as prisons, the habits that keep me smaller than you designed me to be, the rhythms that sound holy but are really distractions from surrender. Show me the difference between peace and numbness, between patience and fear, between faithfulness and self-protection. I do not want to get to the end of my days and realize I never truly lived because I believed captivity was safer than calling. God, I know this one be easy. There will be resistance. There will be days when the chains feel comforting again, when the past calls with its old promises, but remind me in those moments that familiarity is not freedom. Remind me that I have tasted something better now. I have seen glimpses of light, and I can go back to darkness. Give me the endurance to keep walking, the discernment to say no to what held me, and the courage to say yes to what heals me. Let this morning be a marker, not just of awareness, but of awakening. Let it be the moment where I refuse to settle for survival. Let it be where I draw a line not from anger, but from clarity. I am no longer the same person who accepted every weight without question. I am no longer willing to live inside limits that you never placed on me. I am ready to leave the comfort of familiar chains behind. And even if I do not know what freedom fully looks like yet, I trust you to show me. I trust you to walk with me as I learn to live unbound. I trust you to guide me through the fear, through the stretching, through the unfamiliar grace of becoming. Let my life reflect a heart that no longer makes room for captivity, but builds space for truth, for healing, and for joy that does not apologize for being loud. I am done pretending that what hurts me is what keeps me safe. I am done calling bondage a blessing. You are my safety now. You are my home, and in you, I will not live as a prisoner any longer. Father, now that I have begun to let go of familiar captivity, I realize that some of the deepest chains are not circumstances around me, but quiet promises I made within myself. I see it now how my own words became walls. Not the ones shouted in anger, but the whispered vows I made in moments of pain. Moments when I did not feel safe. Moments when I did not feel seen. Moments when I thought protection meant declaring things that would keep my heart from ever breaking the same way again. But today, I bring those vows into the light, not to shame myself, but to surrender them, because what once felt like survival has now become a prison. God, I remember the moment I told myself I would never depend on anyone again. It felt strong at the time. It felt like freedom, but it was not. It was fear wearing a mask. It was the voice of pain trying to build a shelter. And I believed it. I lived like it was true. I held people at arm's length. I kept my needs quiet. I became self-sufficient not out of strength, but out of defense. And the longer I lived that way, the harder it became to ask for help even from you. But now I see that those inner vows did not guard me. They only separated me from intimacy, from connection, from healing. There were other vows too. I said I would never cry in front of someone again. I said I would never let my guard down. I said I would never trust love if it came too easily. I said I would always keep control. And I did not say these things in rebellion. I said them in pain. I said them when I felt powerless. But those words grew roots. They shaped how I showed up, how I gave, how I received. They told me I had to earn everything, that grace was a trap, that vulnerability was weakness. And those words, though silent, built barriers that still echo in how I think, how I pray, how I expect life to unfold. Lord, I bring these vows to you now, not with shame, but with the humble recognition that I cannot hold on to them and still walk in freedom. I can keep clutching the promises I made to protect myself and expect to experience the fullness of your healing, because protection is not the same as peace. Control is not the same as trust, and stubborn independence is not the same as strength. So I lay these vows before you, every one of them, spoken or unspoken, and I ask you to break their power, gently but thoroughly. Teach me that I do not have to be my own defender. I do not have to be the one who always knows, always handles, always holds everything together. I do not have to walk into every room scanning for danger. I do not have to anticipate rejection before it happens. I can be free. I can live open-hearted without being naive. I can release the need to predict pain before it arrives. Because you are my shield now, not my promises, not my plans, not my walls. You are the one who keeps me safe. God, help me unlearn the reflex to withdraw, the tendency to expect disappointment, the habit of assuming silence means rejection. I do not want to carry these old beliefs anymore. They are not wisdom. They are wounds disguised as rules. And I am tired of building my life around them. You never asked me to make these vows. You never required me to close my heart. You did not plant those thoughts. Pain did. And while I honor the part of me that was just trying to survive, I now choose to thrive instead. Help me speak new words over my life, words rooted in trust, not trauma. I will trust that it is okay to need people. I will trust that showing emotion is not weakness. I will trust that love is not always a setup for betrayal. I will trust that failure does not mean I am unworthy. I will trust that asking for help does not mean I have failed. And I will trust that you are not disappointed in my process. You are proud of every step I take toward healing, even the trembling ones. Father, if there are vows I have made that I still cannot see, bring them gently into focus. I give you permission to highlight what I have normalized. I invite you to show me where I have let old declarations become my identity. Shine your light into those corners I have forgotten. And as you reveal them, give me the courage to say, I no longer agree. I break agreement with every vow that was born from fear, from rejection, from shame. I break agreement with every thought that says, I am safer in isolation than in love. Remind me that the safest place for my heart is in your hands, not behind walls, not locked inside old stories, but here in the open, in the light, in the honesty of surrender. I do not have to punish myself for trying to survive, but I also do not have to stay in survival mode. You are offering me more now, a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new way of trusting that does not require me to make myself small or invisible or invulnerable. And I know this process won't be instant. These vows have been part of me for a long time, but even if I have to break them one by one, day by day, I will. I will walk forward even when it feels unfamiliar. I will choose freedom over fear. I will let your truth take root deeper than the lies ever did. I will give myself permission to live fully, not cautiously, not fearfully, but freely, because I am not the same person who made those vows. I am becoming someone new. So today, I walk in the opposite spirit. Where I once vowed silence, I now speak. Where I vowed distance, I now lean in. Where I vowed self-protection, I now open my heart. I won't wait until I feel perfectly ready. I will trust you to meet me in motion, to guide me as I go, to heal what I release, and to write a new narrative over the places where old words used to rule. My voice is not bound to my past. My identity is not locked in trauma. My worth is not tied to performance. You say I am free, and I choose to believe you. No more hidden contracts with fear. No more unspoken agreements with shame. No more self-imposed limits disguised as caution. You have called me to life and life abundantly, and I will not let old words keep me from that promise. I will step forward now, not because I know what is ahead, but because I know you walk with me into it. Every step I take away from those inner vows is a step closer to wholeness. Every time I say no to fear and yes to trust, I make room for peace. You are rewriting the story, and I am ready to live it with you. Lord, now that I have begun to lay down the inner vows that once protected me, but now confine me, I am left with an open space inside. It feels like standing in a quiet room after the noise has faded. And in that stillness, I hear something softer, something stronger. It is not the voice of fear, not the echo of old lies, not the sound of shame. It is your voice, steady, gentle, unwavering. It has been there all along, beneath the static of survival. Today, I want to listen closer. I want to know what it sounds like when truth speaks. God, I realize now how many voices have shaped my thinking. Not just the harsh ones from the outside, but the subtle whispers that have lived inside my mind for years. Words I absorbed as a child, messages I internalized from pain, beliefs I picked up without realizing they were lies. You will never be enough. You always mess things up. No one will really stay. Those words became background noise. I stopped noticing them. I even started agreeing with them. But they were never from you, and they do not belong here anymore. Father, help me hear the difference between condemnation and conviction. One isolates, the other invites. One crushes, the other lifts. One says, I am unlovable. The other says, I am becoming. I have confused those voices before. I have assumed that guilt meant you were distant, that correction meant rejection, but you do not use shame as a tool. You do not motivate with fear. You speak in a way that brings clarity without crushing, truth without terror. Your voice leads me to healing, not hiding. So today I ask you to help me turn down the volume of every voice that does not align with your heart. The voice that says, I am behind. The one that mocks my process. The one that insists I must prove my worth. The one that measures my value by productivity or performance. I silence those voices in your name and ask you to fill the silence with your sound. Speak to me in a way that redefines who I am, not based on failure, not based on the past, but based on who you created me to be. Your truth does not just correct, it restores. It does not just challenge, it comforts. When you speak, the ground beneath my feet feels more stable. My shoulders relax. My breath deepens. Because your words are not just commands, they are anchors. Promises that hold me when I am overwhelmed. Reminders that call me back when I drift. Gentle truths that tell me I am not forgotten. Not disqualified. Not too late. Let your truth sink deeper than every lie I have believed. Let it echo louder than my fear. Let it rewrite the parts of me that still flinch at kindness, still brace for rejection, still expect abandonment. Your voice tells a better story, a story where I am pursued, not ignored, chosen, not overlooked, redeemed, not discarded. I want to live that story, not just as a distant idea, but as a present reality. And I know it begins by learning to recognize the sound of truth when it speaks. God, sometimes your truth comes like a whisper when I least expect it. In a moment of stillness, in a line of a song, in a passage I have read 100 times, but finally hear with new ears. Sometimes it comes through a friend's encouragement. Sometimes through a quiet inner knowing. However it comes, let me not dismiss it. Let me not talk myself out of it. Let me not explain it away, 'cause it feels too kind, too generous, too good. Help me trust that you really are that good, that your words really are that true. And when I doubt again, as I know, I will bring me back to this place. This morning space where I can hear you clearly, where I remember that truth is not a weapon you use against me, but a path you offer to lead me forward. I do not have to wrestle with it. I just have to receive it. I just have to let it settle into the places where lies used to live and make room for a new way of seeing. Lord, I want my mind to be shaped by your words. I want my thoughts to reflect what you say, not what my past screamed. I want my inner dialogue to mirror your love, not my inner critic. So I ask you to renew me one thought at a time. Wash over every lie with something stronger. Let truth soak into the soil of my being so deeply it begins to change the way I walk, the way I speak, the way I dream. I release the habit of rehearsing worst-case scenarios. I let go of the addiction to self-sabotage. I surrender the patterns of negative thinking that have carved trenches in my spirit. Today, I replace them with your truth, not just as information, but as a rhythm, a sound I return to, a voice I follow, a melody that becomes the soundtrack of my soul. I want to speak truth to myself, even when no one else does. I want to declare things that align with what you say, not because I feel them yet, but because I choose to believe them. I am loved. I am chosen. I am not too far gone. I am in process. Not lost. I am being made new. These are not just affirmations. They are foundations. I will build upon them. I will return to them. I will repeat them when the old lies try to return. And when the enemy tries to bring confusion, remind me that clarity lives in your presence. When the world tries to shout louder, draw me back to your still small voice. When my thoughts start to spiral, anchor me in one sentence of your truth. One phrase. One promise. One reminder that I am not who the pain said I was. I am who you say I am. Let this be the beginning of a new sound in my life, a sound that silences shame, a sound that confronts fear, a sound that declares healing before it is visible. Let this sound become familiar. Let it shape my language, my posture, my perspective. Let it overflow into how I speak to others, how I pray, how I carry myself. Let the sound of truth become louder than the memory of pain. You are not just healing what I think. You are transforming how I think. And I welcome that process even when it is slow, even when it is unfamiliar. I will wait on your voice. I will quiet myself to hear. I will keep choosing to believe, because once I recognize the sound of truth, I cannot go back to the noise of lies. I am yours, and your voice is the one that leads me home. God, now that I have begun to recognize the sound of truth and welcome it into the quiet spaces of my mind, something inside me has started to stir again. For so long, I lived in a fog, not dark, not light, just muted. I could not feel joy fully, but I could not feel sorrow either. I learned how to go through the motions, how to show up and smile, how to keep walking without really arriving anywhere. And I told myself that was enough. At least I was not drowning. At least I was not falling apart. But now, after hearing even a whisper of your truth, I realize I do not want to stay numb anymore. I want to feel again, even if it means facing what hurts. I want a hunger that leads me back to life. Father, numbness was never the goal. I understand now that it was a shield I built when I did not know how to process the H. It was my way of surviving when I did not feel safe enough to hope. But you did not create me to survive forever. You created me to live awake, aware, alive to the depth of love, to the presence of peace, to the sound of joy rising, even in the middle of pain. I have tasted something better now, and I cannot pretend that muted living satisfies me anymore. I want more, not more noise or activity, but more of you. I bring you my apathy, Lord. I bring you the part of me that learned how to stop expecting, how to stop yearning, how to stop asking boldly. Somewhere along the way, I let disappointment train me to dream smaller, to pray safer, to want less. But today, I feel a new H rising, not the H of sorrow, but the H of awakening, a holy desperation, a longing to know you more deeply than before, a hunger not for comfort, but for transformation. Let this H grow. Let it press on every place where I have settled. Let it call me out of autopilot and into intimacy with you again. I do not want to be indifferent. I do not want to be comfortable in a half-hearted faith. I want to burn with purpose. I want to tremble with hope. I want to wake each day with expectancy, not dread. I want to be undone by grace again, to feel your presence in the ordinary, to cry not because I am broken, but because I am overwhelmed by how near you really are. I want to pray like I believe you hear, to sing like I believe you are listening, to live like I believe you are enough. God, shake the places in me that have gone still. Stir the waters that have settled too long. Interrupt the rhythm of complacency. I do not want my days to blend together, my prayers to become mechanical, my heart to feel cold beneath the weight of unanswered questions. I want to long for you again, not because I have earned something, but because you are worthy of my hunger. You are worthy of my whole heart, not just the part that knows how to perform, but the part that aches to be filled. I remember seasons when I used to feel you in everything: the wind, the light, the silence, when tears came easily and worship was not a task, it was a reflex. I did not second-guess every emotion. I did not question every step. I just responded. I just trusted. I just opened. Somewhere, I learned to close, maybe from pain, maybe from time, maybe from trying to do life on my own. But I want that closeness again. Not nostalgia, not a memory. A renewal, a present fire that burns deeper than the flicker of yesterday. Lord, I ask you to ignite that fire again. Let it consume every part of me that has grown too tired to try. Let it burn away the distractions I used to fill the silence. Let it refine the places where pride pretends I do not need more. I do. I need more of you. Not because you have been distant, but because I have been dulled. Let this longing be holy, not hurried. Let it lead me to kneel, to weep, to wait. Let it be uncomfortable if it must, as long as it is real. I am done praying just to check a box. I am done worshiping to be seen. I am done with empty words that sound spiritual but never reach my soul. I want encounter, not routine. I want substance, not noise. I want to sit in your presence with no agenda, but to know you, to hear you breathe, to feel my spirit soften in the warmth of your gaze. This is not a craving for an emotional high. It is a cry for eternal closeness, for a love that revives and reshapes. There is a desperation in me now, but it is not hopeless. It is holy. It is clean. It is the kind of hunger that leads to healing. The kind of thirst that does not leave me parched. I am not asking you to entertain me. I am asking you to awaken me. Remove what has numbed me. Heal what has silenced me. Revive what has faded. Give me tears that cleans and joy that endures. I want to feel the full range of life again, the sorrow, the awe, the wonder, the weight, the release. God, let my longing be a song you draw near to. Let it be the sound that brings me back to the center of who I am in you. I do not want a perfect life. I want a connected one. I do not want a script. I want a surrender. I do not want to float through my days untouched. I want to wrestle, to worship, to walk fully awake. If desperation is what brings me closer, then let me stay desperate. Let me live aware of my need, aware of your greatness, aware of the beauty that still breaks into this broken world. And if numbness tries to creep back in through routine, through comfort, through distraction, remind me of this moment. Remind me that I was made for more than emotional survival. I was made for encounter, for intimacy, for passion that moves mountains and mercy that melts walls. You are not a distant God. You are the fire that never goes out, the whisper that never fades. I want to live lit by that flame. So here I am, Lord, undone but alive, awakened not by noise, but by presence, not by fear, but by longing, not by pressure, but by grace. Breathe on this holy desperation until it becomes my daily rhythm. Let it pull me closer than I have ever dared go. Let it guide me through the numbness and into the fullness of who you are. I do not want less. I do not want safe. I want you. And whatever that requires of me, I say yes, even if it stretches, even if it stings, even if it sets me apart. Let my longing lead me home. Let it never leave me unchanged. Father, now that I have allowed holy longing to rise in me, and numbness has begun to melt into desire, I find myself standing at the edge of a battlefield I did not fully understand before. It is not outside of me. It is within. It is quiet, subtle, often invisible, but it is relentless. The battle takes place in the unseen corners of my mind, where thoughts form and patterns take root. Now that my soul is awake again, I see how fiercely this ground is contested. And today, I bring my whole mind to you, not just for comfort, but for war. God, I have underestimated the power of my thoughts. I have let them drift unchecked for too long, as if they were harmless. But now I see it clearly. What I believe in the hidden places of my mind shapes the entire direction of my life. And too often, I have allowed lies to take up residence like permanent guests, thoughts that say I am not capable, not valuable, not enough. Thoughts that echo failure before I even begin. Thoughts that second-guess every good thing and anticipate every worst-case scenario. These are not just ideas. They are weapons, and they have wounded me again and again. But I am no longer powerless. I am no longer unaware. You are teaching me to fight differently now, not with striving or self-hate, but with truth. Not by pretending the battle does not exist, but by stepping into it with spiritual armor and eyes wide open. I will not let my mind become a playground for darkness. I will not allow fear to narrate my life. I will not accept defeat as my default setting. You have given me authority to cast down strongholds and take every thought captive. And today, I begin. Lord, I ask you to retrain my inner voice. The one I hear when I wake up, the one I listen to when I am tired, the one that speaks to me when no one else is around. Let it no longer echo old wounds. Let it no longer repeat the words of critics or the tones of past abusers. Let it sound like you. Let it sound like grace. Let it sound like peace. Teach me to recognize the tone of love in my own thinking. And when that tone is missing, give me the discernment to stop, to question, to replace. I surrender every thought that accuses, belittles, shames, or condemns. I replace them now, not with vague affirmations, but with divine truth. I am forgiven. I am wanted. I am strong in weakness. I am secure in love. I am chosen on purpose. I am being renewed daily. These are not self-created statements. They are promises backed by your word. Let them be the soundtrack in my mind. Let them reroute every worn-out mental path. Let them plant new seeds in the soil of my imagination. God, help me guard my mind without closing my heart. Help me filter what I consume, what I dwell on, what I give energy to, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. I want to be intentional about what I let into the sacred space of thought. Teach me to pause when negativity begins to spiral. Show me how to speak life instead of partnering with despair. Help me silence the enemy's voice before it can settle and shape. I do not want to live in mental exhaustion. I want clarity. I want peace that holds steady even in chaos. Sometimes the battle is not loud. It is a whisper of inadequacy during quiet moments. A flicker of fear in the middle of joy. A sudden memory that brings shame instead of healing. Lord, even there, especially there, be my defender. Flood those moments with your presence. Remind me that not every thought is worth entertaining. Not every idea deserves agreement. Give me the courage to confront my own mind with kindness and authority. I speak over my mind now, in your name. You are not a prison. You are not a battlefield forever. You are being made new. You will no longer default to survival. You will align with truth. You will receive peace. You will create space for faith. You will serve healing, not harm. Every pathway of fear is being replaced with pathways of hope. Every rut of shame is being filled with grace. Every loop of panic is being interrupted with calm. Father, I know that transformation will take time, but I trust that every small decision to believe better is a victory. Every time I choose not to rehearse the old story, I am writing a new one. Every time I reject a thought that does not align with your heart, I am reclaiming territory. This is not about perfection. It is about persistence. About daily choosing to lift my eyes above the noise and listen for the whisper that says, I am still becoming. When anxiety tries to predict my future, I will remind myself who holds it. When regret tries to narrate my past, I will recall who redeemed it. When fear tries to define my present, I will declare who is with me. This is the way I will fight, not in panic, but in peace, not by controlling outcomes, but by surrendering thoughts, not with clenched fists, but with a renewed mind. Lord, I ask you to sanctify my imagination. Let it no longer be ruled by dread or worst-case fantasies. Let it be a space where your promises bloom. Let it picture healing before it sees it. Let it see beauty where there has been only pain. Let it dream with courage, not with caution. I offer you my inner world, not just the visible parts, but the quiet corners where doubt tries to hide. Fill those places with light. Let no room remain dark. And when I fall into old patterns again, as I know I sometimes will do, not let me spiral into shame. Remind me that this is a process, that you are not measuring my progress by how few battles I face, but by how quickly I return to truth. Let me be quick to repent, quick to realign, quick to start again, because every reset is part of renewal. Every correction is an invitation closer. This war is real, but so is your spirit. And you have given me weapons that do not fail. Truth, peace, righteousness, salvation, faith, and the word that cuts through confusion. I will not be intimidated by the enemy's persistence. I will be anchored in your presence. Let this morning be a declaration over my mind that it belongs to you, that its future is not stuck in old loops, that its strength will not be measured by noise, but by the quiet resolve to believe you over everything else. I choose to fight today, not with fear, but with focus, not with striving, but with surrender, not with anxiety, but with assurance, because the battle belongs to you, and my mind is not a lost cause. It is the first ground where freedom begins. Father, as you continue to bring healing to my mind and help me wage war against the thoughts that have tried to control my life, you are now placing your finger on something deeper, something quiet, yet sharp. Something I have carried for so long that it fused itself into my reactions, my expectations, my boundaries. You are uncovering the chain. I did not want to name the chain, called unforgiveness. I see it now, not just as a moment or a memory, but as a weight that has wrapped itself around my ability to fully love, trust, and move forward. God, I did not mean to carry it. I told myself I had let go. I said the right words. I even prayed for the ones who hurt me. But beneath the surface, there is still a part of me that winces when their names come up. There is still a hidden flinch in my spirit, a locked door I have not fully opened. I thought time would handle it. I thought maturity would numb it, but time does not heal what I refuse to face. And maturity without surrender becomes a mask. So I bring this to you now, not with polished speech, but with trembling honesty. I want to be free not just in word, but in spirit. Lord, I confess that I have held on to pain because it felt safer than release. I thought if I let it go, it would mean what they did was okay. I thought forgiveness meant forgetting, and I did not want the wound to be dismissed. But you are showing me something different. That forgiveness is not denial. It is not erasure. It is not pretending I was not hurt. It is choosing not to let that hurt become my identity. It is choosing not to drink the poison of bitterness while waiting for the other to feel its sting. You are showing me that forgiveness is not about them. It is about the freedom you want for me. It is about unlocking the places where love cannot flow because resentment has taken root. It is about releasing myself from the role of judge and letting you handle what only you are wise enough to hold. So I take my hands off the verdict. I lay down the internal arguments. I surrender the need to be right, to be understood, to be vindicated. I may never get the apology I longed for. I may never hear the words I deserved. But I refuse to let that keep me chained. God, you have forgiven me when I did not deserve it. You released me from debts I could never repay. You have shown mercy when I stood guilty, and now you ask me to extend the same, not as a transaction, not as a condition, but as a reflection of the love that has already been poured into me. I do not want bitterness to harden my voice. I do not want resentment to live in the corners of my heart. I do not want to rehearse the injury over and over like a ritual. I want release, even if the pain was real, even if the wound was deep, even if the damage cannot be undone. I want release. So here are the names, Lord, one by one. You know them. The ones who walked away, the ones who broke promises, the ones who silenced me when I needed to be heard, the ones who manipulated trust, the ones who shamed instead of protected, the ones who made me question my worth. I speak their names, not to curse them, but to hand them over to you. I forgive them, even if my emotions do not yet agree. I choose it by faith. I choose it again and again until my feelings align with truth. And not just others, God. I also bring myself. Because there are things I have done, things I regret, moments I wish I could undo, and I have held myself hostage long enough. I have played the role of accuser in my own mind. I have punished myself silently. I have replayed my mistakes like a film stuck on loop. But today, I choose to receive the forgiveness you have already given. I forgive myself for not knowing better, for not doing better, for not being perfect. I forgive myself for the choices that were made from pain, from fear, from immaturity. I forgive the younger version of me who did the best they could, and I give them grace. Lord, I ask you to take every fragment of unforgiveness and burn it in the fire of your mercy. Let nothing remain that keeps my heart hard. Soften me, not into weakness, but into wisdom. Make me tender without being naive, strong without being harsh, loving without pretending nothing happened. Let forgiveness become a posture I return to daily, a habit of the soul that keeps me light, keeps me open, keeps me free. I do not want to carry records of wrongs anymore. I do not want to keep score. I want my hands open for blessings, not clenched around past offenses. I want to bless those who hurt me, not because they earned it, but because I refuse to let them determine who I become. I want to speak peace over their lives, not because I have forgotten, but because I have been released. And I know there may be more layers, that some wounds will resurface unexpectedly. But when they do, I will return to this place. I will forgive again. I will not shame myself for needing to repeat the process. I will see it as evidence that I am healing, that I am growing, that I am serious about freedom. Because forgiveness is not weakness, it is warfare. It breaks cycles. It restores identity. It silences the voice of revenge and amplifies the voice of redemption. Father, I want to live unoffended, not blind to injustice, but unbound by its aftermath. I want to walk through the world with clean hands and a soft heart. I want my spirit to be a refuge, not a fortress. I want to become a safe place for others, because I have found safety in you. So uproot every bitter seed, dismantle every wall built out of old injuries. Drench me in grace until it overflows into every interaction. Every memory, every moment forward. Let forgiveness become the lens through which I see the world, not distorted, but clear. Let it inform my choices. Let it change how I speak. Let it guide how I love. I may not have chosen the pain, but I choose what comes next. I choose release. I choose compassion. I choose the road that leads me back to joy. You are walking that road with me, and I trust that every step I take in forgiveness is a step further from the chains that once held me and closer to the freedom you always intended for me to live in. Lord, as I begin this new morning, still breathing in the freedom that forgiveness brings, I become aware of another quiet chain that has wrapped itself around my identity: shame. It hides in the shadows, often unnoticed, but its voice is loud. It speaks in whispers that sound like truth. It says, I am not enough. It says, I am too much. It says, I do not belong. And although I have silenced many lies before, this one still finds a way to echo through the walls of my heart. God, you see where shame has settled, not always in the obvious places, but in the hidden corners, the moments I hesitate to dream because I fear I do not deserve it, the times I hold back from speaking because I assume I have nothing worth offering, the way I shrink when praised and brace for rejection, even in love. I have worn the outer garments of strength, but beneath them is a silent fear of being exposed. That if others knew the full story, if they saw every fracture and every failure, they would walk away. And sometimes I have believed that even you would. But this morning, you are gently removing the mask, not to humiliate me, but to heal me, not to shame me further, but to lift the weight I was never meant to carry. You remind me that shame is not the voice of conviction. It is the voice of condemnation, and it does not come from you. Your voice never belittles. It never mocks. It never shoves me into isolation. It calls me closer. It names me beloved. It restores what shame tried to erase. Lord, I no longer want to live as though I am unworthy of grace. I do not want to wear a disguise before you, hiding what you already see. You are not repelled by my weaknesses. You are not offended by my wounds. You draw near. You enter in, and you touch what others would turn away from. You declare clean what shame has labeled as defiled. You pronounce purpose over places I thought were permanently broken. I realize now that shame is a thief. It does not just steal confidence, it steals connection. It tells me I am disqualified, that I am not holy enough to worship, not strong enough to lead, not healed enough to speak truth, not pure enough to be used. But you did not choose me because I was perfect. You chose me because you are love, and love covers shame. Love redefines the story. Love reaches down into the dirt and calls it the ground where new life will grow. God, I bring to you the specific moments where shame entered, words spoken over me that still sting, decisions I made that still echo, mistakes I have not fully forgiven myself for, memories that flash like lightning in the night. I offer them up now, not to relive the pain, but to surrender them into your hands. I cannot heal what I still hide, so I expose it to your light, not because I am fearless, but because I trust you more than I trust my defenses. Let your truth become louder than the voice of shame. Let it speak over every label I have carried that did not come from you. Let it erase the graffiti of failure and inscribe instead the promises of your faithfulness. I am not a mistake. I am not unworthy. I am not beyond repair. I am not invisible. I am not too much or not enough. I am yours, fully, completely, eternally. And in that truth, I find peace. Teach me how to walk in belonging, not based on performance, not based on perfection, but based on the unshakable reality that I am held, seen, and known. Let me live as someone who belongs to you, not striving for a place at the table, but seated in the assurance that you have prepared the table for me. Let my voice rise not from fear, but from freedom. Let my choices reflect dignity, not desperation. Let my posture be one of confidence, not compensation. When I walk into rooms where I feel small, remind me who I am in you. When I face reminders of my past, remind me of the cross. When others try to define me by moments instead of identity, remind me that my worth was never based on their opinions. When shame tries to creep back in, remind me that the door has been shut and sealed by truth. I do not belong to my mistakes. I belong to you. And as I live in this awareness, help me recognize shame in others too. Give me eyes that see beneath the surface. Give me words that speak life into weary places. Help me be a voice that interrupts the cycle of self-hatred. A presence that breaks the silence of hidden wounds. Let my life be a declaration that shame does not get the final word. Love does. Mercy does. Redemption does. Father, thank you for staying when others walked away, for reaching when I was withdrawing, for calling me by name when shame tried to rename me. Your kindness disarms me. Your tenderness melts walls I thought were permanent. You rewrite my story not with ink of regret, but with ink of grace. And this morning, I begin again, not in shame, but in sonship, not in hiding, but in hope, not in fear, but in faith. I choose to stand in the truth of who I am, no longer cast out, but called in. No longer second-guessing, but stepping forward. No longer trying to earn love, but learning to receive it. I let go of false humility that keeps me bound, and I take hold of the bold humility that walks in truth, not to exalt myself, but to exalt you through a life set free. As this day unfolds, I want to carry myself with the posture of someone who knows they belong. I want my words to be seasoned with gentleness, my steps to be anchored in assurance, and my interactions to overflow with compassion. Not because I have figured everything out, but because I am anchored in the one who never lets go. In you, there is no shame, no hiding, no pretending, only love, only healing, only truth. And when memories try to rise again, I will return to this truth. I will rehearse grace louder than guilt. I will remember that scars are not shameful, they are stories of survival. They are signs of healing. They are evidence that you brought me through. I do not have to be ashamed of the journey. You were there in every step, and you are still here, leading me onward. This chain no longer holds me. I walk forward with lifted head and lightened heart. Not perfect. Not pretending. But present, whole, loved, and free. Father, now that I walk in the awareness of belonging and no longer live beneath the weight of shame, something deeper stirs a quiet call to release the things I have held onto too tightly. It is not always easy to recognize what still clings to the edges of my heart. Sometimes, it is not the burdens that crush me that are hardest to lay down. It is the ones I have grown used to carrying, the ones I have mistaken for parts of myself. Letting go sounds beautiful until it becomes personal, until it asks for what I have learned to depend on, until it reaches for the things I thought I needed to stay safe. Control, expectation, familiar pain, old habits, stories I told myself to make sense of what I did not understand. Even bitterness, dressed up as protection. But you are gently teaching me that what I refuse to surrender will quietly shape me, and what I keep holding may be what is holding me back. God, I want to walk in freedom, not just from shame or fear, but from every chain of attachment that limits my faith. I want to live open-handed, not clenching pieces of the past or grasping for what I think will secure my future. It is not easy. I confess that sometimes I would rather manage my life than trust you with it. I would rather hold on to what I can see than risk what is unseen. But you have always been more faithful than my fear. You are not asking me to let go into nothingness. You are inviting me to place everything into your hands. Hands that shaped mountains and counted every hair on my head. Hands that never shake, never drop, never close in anger. Hands that bless and break and build. So I release what no longer serves my becoming. I release the ache of unfinished conversations, the questions that never got answers, the wounds that became walls, the moments that haunt in silence, the people I tried to fix, the outcomes I tried to force. I lay down the timelines I wrote in my own strength, the plans I labeled as divine without ever asking you, the dreams that became burdens because I carried them alone, and the fears of being left behind. I let go of the weight of comparison, the lie that someone else's journey disqualifies mine. I let go of my need to be understood by everyone, seen by everyone, accepted by everyone. I was not made to please the crowd. I was made to follow your voice. Lord, even good things can become heavy when I cling too tightly. Sometimes I have idolized what you intended as a gift. I have made people my anchors when you alone were meant to hold me steady. I have looked to success for validation when you already called me worthy. I have tried to earn approval you gave freely. Now I see that letting go is not failure. It is faith in motion. It is trust choosing to breathe. Help me, Father, to grieve what needs grieving. Not everything I let go of was meant to stay. Some chapters must close. Some doors must lock behind me. That does not mean the story ends. It means something new is beginning. You never subtract without intending to multiply grace. So I release what has already served its purpose. I bless the seasons that taught me, even if they bruised me. I bless the people who could not stay, even if I loved them deeply. And I trust that whatever is meant for me will not require me to twist myself out of shape to keep it. There is peace in surrender. It does not feel like losing anymore. It feels like breathing, like standing at the edge of the shore and watching the tide carry away what I no longer have to chase. There is beauty in the unclenching, in the space where once I held on tight. Now there is room for something sacred to grow. There is room for wonder again. Teach me, Lord, how to live in the rhythm of release. Let me wake each morning not with fists clenched around what I fear to lose, but with hands open to what you will give. Let me love without control, serve without ego, dream without striving, give without fear of lack, grieve without staying stuck, and hope without needing guarantees. You are not asking me to forget. You are asking me to trust, to carry the lessons without dragging the weight, to remember without reliving, to forgive without needing closure, to bless even when I do not fully understand. That is the strength I need, not the kind that builds walls, but the kind that breaks them down. Not the kind that looks like perfection, but the kind that shows up, scared and honest, ready to keep going. Help me live like someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to protect. Because when I truly know who I am in you, there is nothing I must cling to for worth. My value is not tied to what I can hold on to. It is rooted in who holds me. I do not need to know the whole path when I know the one who goes before me. Today, I surrender the illusion of control. I surrender the script I have been trying to direct. I surrender the need to understand before I obey. I surrender the right to be right, the need to be safe from pain, the resistance to being refined. I surrender not just what I fear, but what I love, because even my best intentions are safer in your hands than in mine. And with each release, I make room for joy, for lightness, for grace to do what striving never could. I stop rehearsing the worst and start expecting the goodness you promised. I stop clinging to what drains me and start embracing what heals. You are not a God of scarcity. You are the God who multiplies oil, who feeds thousands with a few loaves, who turns emptiness into overflow. I will not fear letting go when I serve the one who fills. Father, I trust you with the gaps, with the endings I did not choose, with the people I still pray for, with the dreams I am still holding in seed form. I trust you with the silence and the slow, with the doors that close, with the answers that have not yet come. I trust you with what I see and with what I do not, because you are not just in the results. You are in the process. Let this be the day I stop holding what is hurting me. Let this be the morning I choose freedom, not by force, but by faith. Let this be the turning point, where I stop carrying what you already carried to the cross. I cannot move forward with clenched fists. I choose the better way, the open way, the way of peace, surrender, and trust. And when I am tempted to take it all back again, to grasp, to hoard, to build walls again, remind me of this moment, this quiet decision, this open heart, and remind me always that what I give up in fear, I will lose. But what I give up in faith, you will multiply. That is the mystery of your love, that in letting go, I am never left empty. I am only made more whole. Lord, now that I have loosened my grip on what was never mine to control, I find myself in the in-between, the space after surrender, but before fulfillment, the waiting room of transformation. It is here that my faith is neither loud nor showy, but quietly persistent. It does not dance. It does not roar. It simply stays. And sometimes, staying is the greatest act of belief. You know, God, I have always struggled with waiting, not because I do not trust you, but because I often assume that stillness means nothing is happening. I treat delays like detours, and silence like abandonment. But you never sleep, and you never pause in your work. Even when I cannot trace your hand, I can trust your heart. You are moving in ways I cannot see, forming things in secret, preparing me for what I am not yet ready to carry. Waiting has never been about wasted time. It is about forming character deep beneath the surface, like roots growing in darkness, like seeds cracking open before they ever sprout. I do not want to rush past this holy discomfort. I want to wait well with wonder, not worry, with quiet expectancy, not anxious striving. I want to become someone who embraces the unseen seasons, not just survives them. Father, give me eyes to see what you are doing while I wait, not just for the outcome, but in me, in my patterns of thought, in my posture of heart, in the stories I tell myself when no one else is listening. Show me the difference between patience and passivity. Waiting well does not mean sitting idle. It means living faithfully while letting you be the keeper of time. Teach me that slowness is not the enemy of progress. Sometimes the most powerful things grow slowly. A tree does not force itself to bloom in winter. It simply remains rooted, absorbing what it needs to flourish later. So I choose to remain grounded in your promises, watered by your word, nourished by quiet hope, and while I wait, I will not waste this moment looking over my shoulder or scanning the horizon for signs. I will look inward, where you are doing the deeper work. Lord, help me resist the temptation to fill the waiting with noise, to run from the ache of anticipation by distracting myself with shallow things. Waiting is where idols are revealed, When the thing I want most does not arrive on my timeline, I often look for substitutes, quick fixes. False comfort. Instant validation. But I do not want a counterfeit blessing. I want the real thing. I want what you have appointed, in the time you have chosen. Help me remember that delay is not denial. That some of the best gifts come wrapped in time. That maturity requires margin. And that sometimes you hold back the answer not to punish me, but to prepare me, to protect me from myself, to strengthen my trust, to refine my desire until what I long for most is you, not just what you can give. God, waiting exposes my fragility, my tendency to equate movement with meaning. But you are the master of sacred stillness. You were present in the silence between creation's first word and its first sunrise. You waited with Noah as the rain came. You waited with Moses in the wilderness. You waited with Elijah in the cave. And you wait with me now. Waiting with you is not empty. It is companionship. It is walking at the pace of peace. It is learning to listen more deeply, to rest more fully, to depend more completely. While I wait, I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am being shaped for what is ahead. My spirit is learning endurance. My soul is learning to trust without needing constant reassurance. Let me be faithful in small things while I wait for the bigger things. Let me not despise today just because it looks ordinary. You often hide the extraordinary in the mundane. I will keep showing up. I will keep praying, serving, loving, planting seeds even when I do not yet see the harvest. Because you are the Lord of the harvest. You bring forth fruit in your perfect time. Father, I confess that sometimes I want to quit, not because I doubt you, but because I am tired of the tension, the ache of almost but not yet, the weight of dreams still dormant. But I know that if you planted the dream, you will water it. You will breathe life into what looks still. And you are more patient than I am. You are more invested in the outcome than I could ever be. Waiting is not passive. It is active surrender. It is choosing to believe that my timeline is not more accurate than yours. It is standing still with a ready heart. It is preparing in hope rather than despair. It is singing songs of praise in the dark, believing the morning will come. Let my waiting be worship. Let it refine me, not embitter me. Let it stretch my capacity for trust. Let it anchor me deeper in you. I do not want to come out of this season the same. I want to emerge softer, surer, steadier, more aware of your presence than I am of my unanswered prayers. I choose to embrace this season as part of the story, not a pause from it. I choose to believe that transformation is happening here, in unseen places, with invisible hands. I choose to trust that nothing is ever truly still when it is placed in your will. You are orchestrating things far beyond my comprehension. Aligning lives. Unlocking timing. Preparing hearts, including my own. God, help me become the kind of person who praises in the waiting, who trusts without evidence, who builds without applause, who listens more than I speak, who carries quiet joy that does not rely on external progress. Help me to lean into the gift of slowness, the grace of margin, the beauty of becoming, And when impatience whispers lies that I am being overlooked, that time is running out. That nothing will change, let truth speak louder. Remind me of your faithfulness. Remind me of every promise fulfilled. Remind me that waiting never means worthlessness. That my life is not on hold. That heaven is not late. That you are never indifferent to the act inside me. You see me here, not just enduring, but being refined, not just longing, but learning, not just holding on, but growing up. And even if the thing I wait for takes longer than I hoped, I trust that what you are doing in me will never be wasted. You are making me ready, so I will wait, not with gritted teeth, but with open hands, not with heavy fear, but with light-filled faith, not counting the days, but marking the lessons, not measuring the silence, but listening for your whisper. You are worth the wait, and if I have you, I am not missing anything. The waiting is not the absence of you. It is the nearness of you in a different form. And in this nearness, I find peace. Peace that settles me without solving everything. Peace that holds me even when nothing else does. Peace that carries me in today and will be there again tomorrow. I am not afraid of this slow season, because I know who stands with me in the stillness. God. When the winds of change blow through the fragile structures I have clung to, and the familiar patterns I once called safety begin to unravel, my hands instinctively tighten. It is my nature to hold on to plans, to outcomes, to people, to the image of who I believed I had to be. But you, Lord, are always leading me somewhere deeper, somewhere freer. And today, as I continue from the quiet surrender that began yesterday, I realize that trust is not only about what I reach for, it is also about what I release. Letting go is not defeat. It is the holy posture of open palms before a faithful God. You know how I have wrestled with these attachments, how my soul has strained under the weight of holding on too tightly. I have carried burdens not meant for me, responsibilities you never asked me to shoulder alone, memories I should have laid down at the altar long ago. There is grief in letting go, yes, but also grace. So I ask you, with all the trembling of a heart learning to surrender, teach me how to loosen my grip. Teach me how to trust that what falls away is not a punishment, but a pruning. That when you ask me to release something, it is because your hands are ready to receive it in mine. Only better, only truer, only more alive. Sometimes I hold on not because it is good, but because it is known. The broken routines, the fears I have grown comfortable with, the relationships that echo with control instead of love. I confess how I have made idols out of familiarity. Even when pain was predictable, I stayed, because at least I knew its name. But you are calling me to step beyond what I know, into what you have prepared. And for that, I need courage, not the courage to climb mountains or slay giants, but the quieter, braver courage to let go of what I thought I needed. Lord, help me release the illusion that I must always have a plan. I cling to strategies and timelines, trying to wrestle control from the unknown, but you remind me again and again that you are not found in control. You are found in surrender, And in surrender, there is peace. In letting go, there is a holy spaciousness for your presence to breathe life into dry bones. I do not want to be so full of my own striving that I miss the miracle you are offering me. I want to empty my hands so that they might receive your daily bread, your gentle guidance, your better way. Even as I let go of past versions of myself, the person I once was, the expectations I failed to meet, the guilt I buried, I sense your mercy lifting the weight from my shoulders. I am not that person anymore, and I do not have to prove my worth through constant doing or endless apologies. I can let go of my need to be everything for everyone. I can let go of shame that whispers, I am too much or not enough. You, Lord, define who I am, and you say I am beloved, not because I earned it, but because you chose me. There are people, too, that I must release not with resentment, but with love. I confess I have tried to change them, hold on to them, fix them, or make them need me. But I see now how often that has stood in the way of what you were trying to do in their lives. Forgive me for every time I played Savior in someone else's story. I am not their God. You are, and you love them far more than I ever could. So I place them in your hands, not as an act of dismissal, but as an act of faith. You are at work even when I cannot see it. You are writing stories I do not need to edit. And for the dreams that no longer fit the season I am in, for the goals that served their purpose, but now feel more like burdens, I give them back to you. I do not want to chase what no longer has your breath on it. I want to be led by your spirit, not by the shadow of former ambitions. Bury in me, Lord, the need to impress, and grow in its place the joy of walking humbly with you, content to bloom wherever you plant me, even if it looks different than I imagined. This morning, I picture myself standing by a river, stones of fear and pride in each hand. You are there, inviting me to drop them one by one, to hear the splash, to feel the freedom the river flows on. Undeterred, and in its current I sense your voice saying, you were never meant to carry that. I look at my hands, lighter now, and I begin to notice the beauty around me, the trees, the breeze, the sky opening wide. This is what happens when we let go. We notice what was always there, waiting to be seen. So, Father, teach me how to make peace with what I have released, not to look back with bitterness, but to look forward with hope. You are not finished. Even what feels like loss is often seed being planted for a greater harvest. And though I may not understand it now, I trust that someday I will look back and see the fingerprints of your grace all over this season. I will thank you not only for what you gave, but for what you took away. There is a sacred silence in letting go, a hush where you speak the loudest. I quiet my soul now and listen, and in that silence, I sense you asking not for perfection, not for certainty, but simply for my yes. Yes to releasing, yes to resting, yes to being held even as I loosen my hold. That is enough. You are enough, and in you, I lack nothing. As the day unfolds and I encounter moments where I am tempted to grasp again, whether it is control, attention, or approval, remind me of this moment of stillness. Remind me of the joy found in trust, the lightness that comes with surrender. You have me. You have always had me, and that is the safest place to be. Though letting go may feel like falling, it is, in truth, learning how to fly, God. As I breathe in the stillness of this new day, I carry forward the stirring from within, the realization that even in my moments of deepest surrender, there lingers a shadow of control I have not yet relinquished. In the quiet aftermath of acknowledging your sovereignty over my fears, I begin to see that much of what I call trust is still entangled with my need to hold the reins. I surrender only what feels safe to surrender, yet cling fiercely to the parts of my life I believe I can still manage better. And now, Lord, you gently open my eyes to this subtle defiance masked as diligence. You do not demand submission out of dominance, but invite it as a path to freedom. I remember now, not with shame, but with clarity, the countless times I tried to orchestrate outcomes that were never mine to arrange. I planned. I projected. I plotted, all the while whispering prayers that were laced with my own expectations. But today, I acknowledge that my compulsion to control is a burden that wears many disguises. Anxiety dressed as responsibility, perfectionism masked as excellence, hesitation posing as wisdom. I lay them all at your feet. Teach me to discern the difference between healthy stewardship and obsessive control. I long to steward what you have placed in my care, my relationships, my work, my gifts, but not with the clenched fists of fear. Replace my grip with grace, my restlessness with rhythm, my panic with peace. As the morning light rises, remind me that letting go is not a collapse into chaos, but a courageous act of trust. You are not asking me to stop caring. You are asking me to stop clutching. I remember the story of the seed. Lord, the seed that only bears fruit when it falls into the ground and dies to its own form. It is in that surrender, in the breaking and burying, that it becomes something far greater than it ever could alone. Let my will be that seed. Let my plans fall into your soil. Let my insistence on controlling outcomes be buried so that new, unimagined life may rise in its place. Help me no longer fear the unknown, but instead see it as the spacious place where you do your finest work. I confess, Father, that control has often been my false sense of security. It has promised me stability, but delivered only tension. It has held me hostage to timelines and outcomes I cannot guarantee. You, on the other hand, offer me something far more enduring, an abiding presence that does not shift with circumstances. You walk beside me whether the path is clear or foggy. You carry me when the terrain becomes too steep. In you, I find a refuge that needs no backup plan. May I learn to love the mystery again, not because I understand it, because I know who governs it. I want to delight in the unfolding rather than demand the blueprint. I want to be present in today rather than obsessed with tomorrow. Lord, grant me the humility to say, this is beyond me, and that is okay. Grant me the boldness to say, I release this not because I do not care, but because I trust you more. When I try to carry what is not mine, I miss the joy of carrying what is. You have not called me to bear the world on my shoulders. That job is already taken by your Son, who stretched out his arms and took on the full weight of humanity as striving. Why do I then still insist on carrying what was never mine? Let the cross remind me that I do not need to earn security through control. Let the empty tomb remind me that even what seems lost or dead can be resurrected without my help. Lord, there are people I have been trying to change, situations I have been trying to fix, timelines I have been trying to accelerate. I have prayed for breakthroughs, and then tried to force them through my own effort. But now I step back, not in resignation, but in reverent release. I trust that you are working in ways unseen. I trust that the silence is not abandonment. I trust that delay is not denial. You waste nothing, not a moment, not a tear, not a surrendered plan. I want to live lighter. Father, I want to walk through this day with open hands. I want to breathe deeply without the tension of needing everything to go a certain way. I want to make room in my soul for wonder again, for joy, for unexpected turns, for divine interruptions that do not fit into my schedule but are perfectly aligned with your will. Unclench my spirit. Soften my need for structure. Set me free from the tyranny of always needing to know. Your word says, "Be still, and know that I am God." Not be efficient, not be right, not be in control, but be still. And so I choose stillness today, not as passivity, but as powerful obedience. I choose to pause rather than push. I choose to trust rather than tweak. I choose to yield rather than yank on the strings of life. For when I release control, I make space for grace. Let that grace enter every corner where fear has built strongholds. Let it wash over the decisions I have been agonizing over. Let it flood the waiting rooms of my heart where prayers sit unanswered. Let it carry me when my own strength has worn thin. I want to be a person so surrendered, so uncluttered by control, that your peace becomes the loudest presence in the room. May my surrender echo louder than my striving. As the day unfolds, there will be moments that tempt me to pick up the reins again. When plans shift, when news unsettles, when people disappoint, remind me gently, Lord, to come back to this posture of release. Not once, not twice, but as often as necessary. Make this not a one-time act, but a way of living, a rhythm of relinquishing. Let every breath be a quiet exhale of trust. I offer you not just my burdens, but my blueprints, not just my fears, but my fantasies of how things should go. Take the map I have drawn and redraw it in ways that astonish me. Let me walk in peace, not because I have it all figured out, but because I am walking with the one who holds all things together. In this surrender, I find strength. In this yielding, I find purpose. And in this release, I finally find rest. Father, in the quiet stillness of this new morning, I come before you with a heart both trembling and hopeful. As I rise again from the ashes of yesterday's weariness, I find my soul drawn toward your unwavering grace that beckons me to begin again. The echoes of past disappointments may still linger in the corners of my thoughts, but your mercies are new with the dawn, inviting me to lay down the remnants of what was and embrace the promise of what can be. With each breath, you remind me that failure is never the final word when faith remains. I look around and see that life often unfolds in unexpected chapters. Some bring triumph, Others bring loss. And yet, you remain the author who continues to write purpose, even in the places where my strength gave out. You never ask me to bring perfection to the table, only surrender. So I come now, imperfect yet willing, broken yet open, asking you to steady my feet as I take the first hesitant steps toward restoration. You are the God who specializes in renewal. In your hands, ruins can become foundations, and endings can blossom into beginnings. Let me not be paralyzed by the weight of regrets. Teach me to learn from them without becoming enslaved to them. There is no shame in stumbling when my eyes are fixed on the one who lifts me up. You are the lifter of my head, the restorer of my dignity. You do not count my worth by my record of success, but by the truth that I am yours. And because of that, I dare to try again, not in my own strength, but in yours. Lord, I sense you calling me to stop rehearsing the old narratives of defeat. The enemy would have me believe that my mistakes define me, that I am stuck in a cycle I cannot escape. But your truth interrupts that lie. You remind me that nothing is wasted in your economy, not the pain, not the failure, not even the long seasons of silence. You weave redemption through every broken thread. You turn mourning into movement, not always fast, but always forward. There is a quiet courage that grows not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of grace. So even when I cannot yet see the full path ahead, I choose to move. One step, one decision, one yes at a time. And when I falter again, I will not see it as a reason to quit, but as an invitation to lean more deeply into your strength. You are patient with my process. You are not a taskmaster demanding perfection, but a loving Father delighting in every small return to trust. I open my hands to the newness you offer. I release the guilt I have carried for too long. I let go of the voice that says, "It is too late," and instead listen for yours, the gentle whisper that says, "Try again." Beloved, I am with you. What a gift that I do not have to have it all figured out. I do not have to rebuild in a day. I only have to begin, to choose hope over despair, faith over fear, love over shame. You meet me not just at the mountain peaks, but in the valleys where I must gather the courage to rise. And when I cannot stand, you kneel beside me. When I cannot speak, you interpret my sighs. When I cannot see, you guide me by the sound of your voice. I am never alone in the beginning again. You are the companion of the restart, the champion of the weary, the breath in my lungs when all I feel is the weight of starting over. Even when the past tries to convince me that I am disqualified, you anoint me again with the oil of purpose. I am not who I was in the moment I failed. I am who I am becoming under the hand of grace. There is a sanctity in resilience, a holiness in beginning again, not for the applause of the world, but in quiet faithfulness to the one who sees in secret. I will not let comparison rob me of joy. I will not let the shadow of yesterday eclipse the light of this day. Let this be the moment I choose again to believe that you are not done, to believe that my story is still unfolding, to believe that the pain has a place, but not the throne, to believe that healing does not erase what has been, but transforms how I carry it forward. May this be the morning I stop waiting for the perfect conditions to act, and instead trust that your presence is the only assurance I need. I place my hand in yours and take the next step. It may be small, shaky, or unseen by others, but it is sacred in your eyes, in your presence. There are no wasted efforts. Every attempt to return to joy, every prayer whispered through tears, every decision to get up again becomes a seed planted in the soil of grace. And though I may not yet see the fruit, I will keep sowing. Father, breathe upon the places in me that have gone dormant. Stir the dreams I buried beneath the rubble of disappointment. Rekindle the fire I thought had gone out. Remind me that my best days are not behind me when I walk with the one who holds eternity. You are not intimidated by the ruins. You specialize in resurrection. And so I place my broken pieces in your capable hands, not with reluctance, but with trust. When doubts rise like waves and whisper that this new beginning is futile, anchor me in your word. Let your promises be the compass that keeps me from drifting when fatigue threatens to drag me back into numbness. Remind me of why I started, not for accolades, not for affirmation, but for the joy of walking with you in the direction of redemption. I ask not for ease, but for courage. Courage to fail with grace. Courage to start again when no one is watching. Courage to forgive myself and others. Courage to see beauty where the world sees brokenness. Courage to love the process, not just the outcome. May that courage be rooted not in self-confidence, but in God-confidence, in the quiet conviction that you are working even when I see no progress. There is something holy about beginnings. They are fragile and full of potential, and perhaps that is why you love them so much, because they require trust. They demand surrender. They invite dependence. I do not want to rush past this moment of sacred beginning. Let it shape me. Let it strip away what no longer serves me. Let it refine me until only what is true remains. With every sunrise, you offer this invitation. Begin again, not as a punishment, but as a privilege. Begin again, not because I failed, but because I am loved too much to stay stuck. Begin again, not in isolation, but in communion with you. And so I accept, not with certainty, but with open hands and a willing heart. What comes next may stretch me, but I know you will meet me there. In this still moment, I choose to believe again, to hope again, to move again, to rise again, not because I feel ready, but because you are already there ahead of me, waiting, welcoming, and holding space for all I am becoming. This beginning is not the end of the story. It is the sacred next breath of grace. Lord, as I wake again into the quietness of morning, the stillness feels like an open space where you wait for me not to judge my need, but to fill it. The path I have taken toward beginning again is still fresh beneath my feet. But even in this early stretch of the journey, I feel the weight of unknowns pressing in. And yet, I hear you whisper that I do not walk alone, nor do I walk empty-handed. You are the provider not only of my daily bread, but of the unseen strength that sustains my soul. I do not need to manufacture hope or create resources out of thin air. You are the source, and you are never exhausted. There are days when I believe your provision only when I can hold it in my hands, when I see answers lined up in neat rows, when the doors open easily, and the people show up with kindness. But you are teaching me that provision is not always loud or visible. Sometimes, it arrives quietly like the peace that slips in through the cracks of my worry. Sometimes, it is not the absence of need, but the presence of grace right in the middle of it. You do not always remove the emptiness, but you sanctify it. You meet me there. Father, I confess how often I define provision by numbers, by what I can count, what I can measure, what I can control, and in doing so, I limit you. I forget that you are not bound by my definitions of enough. You are not waiting for me to earn favor or achieve spiritual milestones. You give freely, generously, not according to my performance, but according to your heart. A heart that delights in giving. A heart that sees my need even before I can name it. A heart that answers with perfect timing, though I often misunderstand the delays. There is something in me that wants to rush to grasp, to plan, to hustle toward solutions, but you invite me instead to rest in trust. Not a passive waiting, but an active choosing to believe that while I sleep, you are working. While I hesitate, you are providing. While I grow tired, you remain tireless in your care for me. Teach me not to mistake stillness for stagnation or lack for absence. Sometimes, the most abundant provision comes in the quiet confidence that you will not let me fall. I think of the wilderness, the place where your people wandered, disoriented and afraid. And yet, every day, you sent manna, not a week's worth, not a plan for storage, just enough for today, enough to teach them to return again tomorrow with empty hands, not as beggars, but as children. And that is who I am this morning, a child again, holding up my open hands to you. Not demanding, but hoping. Not afraid, but aware of how deeply I need you. Give me eyes to see provision in its many forms, not just in solved problems or received blessings, but in small mercies I often overlook. The steady beat of my heart, the breath in my lungs, the text from a friend, the song that brings tears, the moment of stillness between tasks. All of it is you, waving provision into my ordinary, even the hard things, the waiting, the silence. The unanswered questions are not void of your presence. You are the God who wastes nothing. Help me, Lord, to release my grip on the illusion of self-sufficiency. I was never meant to carry it all. You never asked me to be the source, only the vessel. I want to live in a rhythm of receiving, not striving, to trust that just as the sun rises without my help, so too will your provision meet me without my orchestration. That does not mean I want work or plan, but that I will do so from a place of peace, not panic, of surrender, not control. When I feel like I have reached the end of my capacity, remind me that your abundance is not measured by what I bring to the table. You fed 5,000 with a handful of loaves and fish, not because the supply was impressive, but because the offering was surrendered. I offer you today whatever I have, however small, my words, my energy, my heart. Multiply it, not for my glory, but that I may live in the wonder of your faithfulness. And when the days come that feel lean, when the cupboards of my heart are bare, and the skies seem silent, let me not retreat into fear. Let me remember how many times you have come through. Not always in the way I asked, but always in the way I most needed. Help me to gather these memories like stones of remembrance, so that when I question again, I will have proof to hold on to. You have not failed me. You will not begin now. I want to live this day with open hands and an expectant heart, not demanding that you move in a specific way, but trusting that you will move. Provision is not just what I receive, but what I notice. And so I ask for awareness, a sharpened sense of your nearness. Let me see the way you show up in conversations, in unexpected delays that turn into protection, in detours that lead to divine appointments, in simple joys that soften the hardness of routine. If I am tempted to compare what I have to what others seem to carry, redirect my eyes to you. You are not the God of scarcity, but of sufficiency. You are not stingy or indifferent. You are attentive to the details of my life, even the ones I consider insignificant. Teach me to live from the truth that I am not lacking when I have you, that contentment is not resignation, but reverence for the present moment and the God who fills it. Lord, I want to trust you more than I trust my fears, more than I trust the economy, the opinions of others, or my own limited plans. Let this day be a living prayer, one where my actions, my thoughts, my pauses, and even my questions all point back to the trust I place in you, not because I know what is coming, but because I know you are already there. You have seen every need, every longing, every burden, and you are not overwhelmed. You are the God who provides not only for survival, but for flourishing. You do not offer scraps, but fullness, not crumbs under the table, but a seat at it. Let me never settle for less than intimacy with you. Let me not run after provision without the provider. For even if I gain the world but miss your voice, I have missed everything. But if I walk through lack yet hold your hand, I have all I need. You are faithful in the morning and steadfast in the night. When the answers are slow to come, remind me that your timing is kindness. When the doors remain closed, remind me that delay is not denial. When my efforts seem to bear no fruit, remind me that the soil must first be tilled before the harvest can rise. You are never in a rush, but you are never late. So I breathe deep and release the tension I did not know I was holding. I choose to trust not only with words, but with the way I carry myself through this day, with the gentleness I offer to others, with the willingness to wait, with the refusal to panic, with the quiet declaration that my Father knows, my Father sees, my Father provides. And if He provides for the birds of the air and the lilies of the field, how much more will He care for me? There will always be needs. There will always be gaps. But there will also always be you filling, sustaining, healing, surprising. I am not the architect of my own rescue. I am not the author of my peace. You are. And because of that, I can rest even as I move. I can rejoice even as I wait. I can give even when I feel like I have little, because I know that in you I lack nothing that truly matters. So here I am again, in this morning light, with no grand plan, only trust, no guarantee, only grace, no riches, only faith. And that is more than enough, because you are more than enough, always have been, always will be. Lord, if trusting your provision opens my hands, then forgiving as you have forgiven opens my heart. You have been teaching me that true freedom is not simply in receiving your gifts, but in letting go of what I was never meant to carry, especially the silent weights of resentment, hurt, and lingering bitterness. These burdens do not announce themselves with noise, yet they quietly shape the way I see others, the way I see myself, and even the way I view you. You are the God who heals not only wounds, but the scars we forgot were still aching. Forgiveness is not always a thunderclap or a moment of grand emotion. Often, it is a quiet decision made in the unseen place within me, a decision to surrender my right to hold on to pain as proof that I was wronged. But even as I say that, Father, you know how difficult it is. You know how betrayal breaks something inside, how words spoken in anger or silence, held too long, can echo across years. How I sometimes return to the memory, again and again, as if picking at a scab that never quite healed. But you also know what freedom looks like. And you call me into that release, not to forget, not to dismiss, but to make space for grace where bitterness once lived. There is no clearer evidence of your love than the mercy you offer me daily. You do not forgive reluctantly, nor hold my sins in reserve to remind me later. You cover me in compassion. You wash over my guilt with kindness. You do not measure my repentance with suspicion, but receive my return with rejoicing. How could I, having been forgiven so deeply, withhold that same grace from someone else? And yet, there are moments I do. I cling to the illusion that holding on to pain protects me, but it only traps me. It builds walls where you long to grow gardens. God, teach me how to forgive like you, not because someone deserves it or even asks for it, but because freedom was never meant to be transactional. You did not wait for me to clean myself up before you welcomed me back. You ran to me while I was still far off. Let me carry that same mercy into my own relationships, into my past, into every part of me still aching for release. Show me the faces I have hidden in corners of my heart, the names I avoid in prayer, the memories I skip over because the pain is still too sharp. I bring them to you, trembling, not because I know what to do with them, but because you do. I ask for the courage to face what I have buried, to stop numbing, denying, justifying, and to instead hand those pieces over to you, not for vengeance, but for healing. Forgiveness does not mean trust is restored overnight. It does not mean I pretend the pain was not real. It simply means I choose love over retaliation, peace over pride, wholeness over harboring wounds. That is a hard path, Lord. And sometimes I stumble. Sometimes I say I have let go, but I keep the memory close like a shield. Sometimes I speak words of peace aloud, but rehearse old arguments in my mind. But you are patient with me. You walk with me, even when I drag my feet. I want to be like you, Jesus. when you hung on that cross, you did not curse those who mocked you. You asked the Father to forgive them. You gave mercy while still bleeding. That is a kind of love I cannot manufacture, but you live within me, and so I ask, grow that love in me. Stretch my heart beyond my past. Stretch my imagination beyond what I think is fair or possible. Let forgiveness not be something I force, but something that flows because I live rooted in you. Sometimes the person I struggle to forgive is myself, for the choices I wish I had not made, for the words I wish I could take back, for the times I failed to show up with love. I carry shame like it is proof of my humility, but is just another prison. If you, in all your holiness, say I am forgiven, who am I to argue with that grace? Teach me to receive the gift you already gave. Teach me to stop trying to earn what you offer freely. Let me stand not in my failures, but in your mercy. I ask, Lord, for a new vision today. Help me see people not through the lens of what they have done to me, but through the lens of what you have done for them. That includes those closest to me, the ones whose wounds cut deepest. Let me remember that every soul carries its own story, its own pain, its own battles. Help me not respond out of my own hurt, but from a heart softened by yours. That is the kind of life I long for, not reactive, but redemptive, not guarded, but generous. Make my home a place where forgiveness is not rare but expected. Make my conversations safe places for honesty and restoration. Let the atmosphere I carry into rooms be one of reconciliation, not division. Let the fruit of my words and actions leave others lighter, not heavier. If I am known for anything, let it be that I forgave freely because I loved deeply and trusted that you would take care of justice and truth in your time. And when forgiveness feels like too much to ask, remind me of the cross. Remind me of the grace that met me when I least deserved it. Remind me of the joy that followed letting go. And even if the scars remain, let them become signs of resurrection, not of ruin. Signs that something greater has taken place, that death was not the end, that bitterness did not win, that love had the final word. There are some relationships I may never fully restore, and I accept that. But even in those places, I can choose to be free. I can choose to bless, not curse. I can release the judgment I have held onto and trust you with what I do not understand. I do not want to live tangled in past offenses or frozen in the fear of being hurt again. I want to live open, whole, healed. You are the God who turns ashes into beauty, who makes rivers in the desert, who restores years that were stolen. Do the same in me. Redeem the brokenness with grace. Let my life bear witness to a different way of being, a way marked not by defensiveness or control, but by softness, strength, and surrender. Let your mercy be the loudest voice in my soul, even when the old pain tries to shout again. I will return to this prayer as many times as I need to, not because forgiveness is a one-time act, but because it is a daily choice, a journey of trust, a willingness to keep walking, even when it is uncomfortable. And you will walk with me. You will whisper when I forget. You will soften when I harden. You will remind me who I am, not the sum of what has been done to me, but a living reflection of the grace I have received. So I breathe in the fresh air of this new morning, not holding my breath in fear, but exhaling in release. I let go of what I cannot fix. I choose peace where there was once pain. I allow love to speak louder than memory. And I carry this quiet freedom with me, not as a shield, but as a light that does not deny the darkness, but overcomes it with gentle, persistent hope. Lord, as the quiet whispers of yesterday still echo in my heart, I bring my soul once again to your presence. In the silence that followed my surrender, I sensed a rhythm gentle and holy, not driven by urgency, but shaped by your eternal timing. My spirit leans in now, not to rush, but to rest in the flow of your will. Not everything must be done in haste, and not every prayer must bear fruit immediately. You are the master of seasons. What I call delay, you call preparation. What I deem stagnant, you declare sacred stillness. I confess, Father, how hard it is to wait when the world preaches speed. Every clock on the wall, every alert on my phone, every demand from others tells me to hurry, to produce, to perform. But you whisper instead, be still, and know that I am God. These words are not merely instructions. They are invitations to freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of time and the fear of falling behind. You are never late, and when I trust your timeline, I am never truly behind. So I surrender my schedule to you today. My timelines, my expectations, the arbitrary deadlines I have placed on healing, breakthrough, success, or clarity, I lay them down like branches before you. You are not hurried by human impatience. Your plans are layered with wisdom I cannot fathom. And often, your no is a not yet, spoken in mercy. Teach me to rest in that mercy, even when it is veiled. Sometimes I confuse inaction with failure. When the answer does not come quickly, I assume you are silent, but perhaps you are working in depths unseen. The roots of trust grow strongest in soil that waits. So I will wait not with clenched fists or anxious pacing, but with open hands and lifted eyes. I will wait like the soil waits for rain, like the shore waits for tide. I will wait because you are worthy of my trust. Give me eyes to see the beauty in divine delay. Some of the greatest miracles in Scripture were preceded by seasons of silence. Abraham waited. Joseph waited. Hannah waited. Even Jesus, in his humanity, waited in the wilderness, waited for the appointed hour, waited through the stillness of Saturday before Resurrection Sunday. So who am I to despise waiting? Let me find you not only in answered prayers, but in unanswered ones too. There is a grace in this space between longing and fulfillment, a grace that reshapes motives, burns away pride, strengthens spiritual muscle. It is here, in this hidden hour, that faith matures. So instead of rushing to the next thing, I want to linger here with you. Slow me down, Lord, until I can hear the subtle movements of your Spirit. Help me discern the difference between what is urgent and what is important. Lead me away from the tyranny of the urgent, into the peace of what is eternal. And when others seem to move faster, succeed quicker, heal sooner, may I not let comparison corrode my confidence in you. Their pace is not my path. My race is not theirs. You are tailoring something specific in me, and your work is never mass-produced. It is intimate, hand-stitched, and beautiful in its own time. Let today be a sanctuary of trust. Let every tick of the clock be a reminder that you hold all things together, including me. I do not want to be addicted to movement. I want to be anchored in meaning. If the only thing I accomplish today is sitting still long enough to hear you breathe truth over my fears, then I have not wasted a moment. Remind me that even while I wait, I am not abandoned. You wait with me. You wait in me. The Holy Spirit groans with words I cannot utter, praying alongside me when my own prayers feel thin. You are never idle, even in silence. You are singing over me, even in delays. You are preparing doors I cannot yet see. Even in the shadows, you are placing stars in their places. Time does not limit you, it obeys you. So I will choose rest today, not laziness, but holy rest. Not avoidance, but sacred stillness. This rest is not the absence of activity, but the presence of trust. As I go through my day, I will resist the urge to fill every quiet moment with noise. I will welcome pauses as sacred. I will let them stretch long enough for awe to enter. And if I grow restless, remind me again of how the oak tree took years to rise, and how the dawn does not race the night away but waits until its appointed hour. You are not only the God of outcomes, you are the God of process. You are with me in the middle, in the becoming, in the almost. There is no wasted time when it is spent in you, no detour that cannot be redeemed, no waiting room where you do not sit beside me. So I give you my worries about timing. I release the fear of missing out. I silence the voice that says I am too late, too slow, too lost. You are the Alpha and the Omega. You write beginnings and endings, and everything in between is where you teach me how to breathe. As the day unfolds, let my heart beat in rhythm with yours. Unhurried, steady, certain. Let me carry within me the quiet assurance that I am exactly where I need to be, even if it does not feel like it, because being with you is always the right time. Being in your will is always the right place. Let me move when you move, wait when you pause, and rest in the sacred in between. And if you lead me into still waters, I will not panic. If you ask me to lie down instead of climb, I will not resist, because in the slowness, there is healing. In the quiet, there is clarity. In the waiting, there is worship. Let every breath I take today be an act of surrender to your perfect timing. And as the sunlight filters through the trees outside my window, let it remind me that even the light arrives precisely when you command. Lord, as my heart settles after the deep longing of yesterday, I come before you this morning not with requests, but with a quiet spirit of appreciation. The striving has paused, the yearning softened, and all that remains is this stillness, like a lake at dawn untouched by wind. I feel you here, not in thunder or fire, but in the quiet whisper that invites me to rest in what is. Contentment, such a gentle, often misunderstood gift. Not complacency, not surrender, but peace with the portion you have given. Even as I continue to walk forward in trust, there was a time I confused contentment with resignation, as if to be content meant to stop dreaming or hoping. But now, I begin to understand it is not the death of desire, but the surrender of demand. It is finding joy not in what I lack, but in what I have. It is the breath between asking and receiving, the sacred moment where my soul says, "This is enough, this is good, God is here." Father, the world urges me to keep climbing more, faster, better. It tells me happiness lies just one achievement beyond my reach. But when I chase its mirage, I am left empty, exhausted, wondering why the arrival never satisfies the H. You, Lord. In contrast, whisper another truth, that the green pasture I seek may already be beneath my feet, that the quiet waters flow nearby, if I would only pause long enough to notice. Help me today to open my eyes to the beauty of the ordinary, the warm tea in my hands, the softness of sunlight on the floor, the voice of someone I love, the breath that fills my lungs, the fact that I am here, alive, surrounded by reminders that I am not forgotten, not alone. Each moment is a gift I did not earn. Each detail, a quiet echo of your grace. God, I confess how often I overlook the sacred within the simple. I wait for the grand, the loud, the dramatic, missing how you often come wrapped in quiet things. A gentle sunrise, a bird's solitary song, the hush that follows latter. Forgive me for the blindness that comes from distraction. Slow me down today. Teach me the rhythm of contentment that walks, not rushes through life with grateful steps. There is great freedom in letting go of comparison. When I measure my story against someone else's, I rob myself of the wonder in my own. What you have written for me is not lacking, it is tailored, intentional, and marked by your wisdom. I do not need their life to find meaning in mine. I only need to look with soft eyes. Grateful ones, willing to discover the gold beneath the dust of the familiar. Lord, you are enough. That is the truth I want to live into today. You are not just a supplement to my life. You are its source. All things flow from you and return to you. When I center my heart in that knowing, I am no longer tossed by the winds of desire. I find an anchor that steadies me. I see that even in lack, I am full. Even in waiting, I am whole. Even in change, I am safe. Let me not confuse quiet with insignificance. Let me not assume that slow means fruitless. You do your deepest work not in the rush, but in the still, like a tree growing underground before it ever bears fruit. Like a river carving valleys through centuries of patient movement. So too you shape me, gradually, gently, through seasons of enoughness. Thank you for what I have, not just possessions or comforts, but the invisible treasures, peace of mind, a conscience stirred by truth, the ability to feel, to grieve, to love deeply, the opportunity to grow, to start again, to become. Thank you for giving me enough to survive, and sometimes enough to thrive, even in times when scarcity knocks. You provide in ways I do not always see until later. And when abundance visits, let me not hoard but hold with open hands. I ask you today for the gift of a content heart, one that does not need less challenge, but more presence, one that does not seek escape, but engagement, one that is not constantly striving to be elsewhere, but rests in the here and now. Let me befriend this moment instead of resisting it. Let me love this season instead of rushing through it. Let me see you not only on mountaintops, but also in kitchens and hallways and long commutes and quiet mornings. Teach me the song of contentment, a melody that plays softly beneath the noise of daily life, a tune that reminds me who I am, what I have been given, and who I belong to, a song that silences the voices of envy and fear, replacing them with gratitude and grace. Let my life sing it, even when I do not realize I am humming. Let others hear it through my peace, and when discontentment creeps in, as it surely will, let it be my teacher rather than my captor. Let me ask it, gently, what it is pointing to. Is there a wound beneath, a dream I have buried, a false belief I am still carrying? Help me tend to those roots with compassion, not condemnation. Let contentment not be a mask I wear, but a truth I grow into, one that is honest, resilient, and rooted in you. Today, Lord, I choose to release what I cannot control, embrace what I have been entrusted with, and rest in the assurance that you are working in all things, even when I cannot see. I lay down the measuring sticks, the should-haves, the restless comparisons. I pick up the small joys, the quiet graces, the hidden beauty. I place them in my hands like fragile leaves and offer them back to you. And in this offering, I feel whole, not because everything is perfect, but because I know I am held. Not because I have everything I want, but because I have you, and you are enough. My soul finds its rest here, not in arrival, not in achievement, but in the simple, profound presence of your love that has never left and never will. Father, after learning to find rest in contentment, my heart now recognizes the wisdom in knowing where to begin and where to end. You have whispered to me through silence and presence, and now you invite me to discern what belongs, what must be released, as the sun gently outlines the edges of all things, revealing form through light. I sense you teaching me the holy art of boundaries, not as walls to keep others out, but as gentle lines that protect the life you are cultivating within. I used to fear boundaries. I thought they made me selfish, distant, or unloving. I assumed saying yes was always noble, and saying no was a failure of kindness. But in your grace, you have shown me that even love has shape, that health, growth, and peace require margin, that even the ocean stops at the shore, even the sky gives way to the horizon, and even you, Lord, rested after creating. Help me understand that setting limits is not rejection, but stewardship. Each day brings demands, voices, choices, and invitations, but not all are mine to carry. I am not called to rescue every soul, answer every call, or be present for every need. You, not I, are the Savior. And when I forget that, I try to hold too much, and everything begins to crack under the weight. Teach me to listen to your Spirit, to know when to lean in and when to step back, when to pour out and when to replenish. Lord, boundaries are not only for others, they are also for me. Help me discern the thoughts I allow to dwell in my mind. Let me guard the gates of my heart against bitterness, anxiety, and falsehood. Let my inner world reflect truth, compassion, and wisdom. Not every voice deserves my attention. Not every inner critic speaks with your authority. Not every fear deserves a seat at the table. I want to cultivate a sanctuary within, a place where you are welcomed, and all that diminishes me is gently shown the door. There is freedom in boundaries. They are not prisons but paths, not cages, but contours that guide my yes into sacred alignment with your will. When I learn to say no with grace, my yes becomes wholehearted. When I learn to retreat without guilt, I return with greater presence. When I honor the limits you have given my body, time, and soul, I become more available for what truly matters. God, I bring before you the areas where my boundaries have been blurred, the places I have given too much out of fear, obligation, or a need to prove, the relationships where I have said yes when my heart whispered no, the habits I have kept because I did not want to disappoint. I surrender them into your light, not with shame, with the hope of redrawing the lines with wisdom and courage. You have created me with needs, not to make me weak, but to remind me of dependence. Even Jesus withdrew to lonely places. Even he paused to pray, to rest, to grieve. Who am I to think I must always keep going, always be available, always give? Teach me that rest is not laziness, silence is not avoidance, and solitude is not isolation. Sometimes, the holiest thing I can do is step away, close the door, and breathe with you alone. Lord, help me practice boundaries not only with people, but with time. Let me not waste the precious hours you have entrusted to me on things that drain without purpose. Let me not say yes to urgency and miss intimacy. Let me be present with those I love, undistracted and whole. Let me resist the pull of always being reachable and rediscover the joy of being rooted. Sometimes, I have let guilt be my compass. I have mistaken discomfort for conviction and overextension for love. But you are not the voice that demands without rest. You are the shepherd who leads gently, who calls me to lie down, who walks me beside still waters. Let my boundaries reflect the rhythm of your grace, not hurried, not reactive, but intentional and kind. I ask for courage to hold the boundaries I set. It is easy to name them in quiet prayer, but harder to live them in noisy life. There will be pressure to explain, to apologize, to bend. But let me remember that every healthy no is a yes to something deeper, a yes to peace, a yes to presence, a yes to health, a yes to you. I am not made to be all things to all people. I am made to be fully yours. When others misunderstand, help me respond with compassion, not defensiveness. When I disappoint someone by honoring my limits, remind me that love does not always look like agreement. Let my boundaries not be rigid or cold, but firm and filled with grace. A garden has a fence not to reject, but to protect. Let my life be such a garden open, beautiful, and wisely tended. Thank you for the gift of conviction that draws me back when I have overstepped or overdriven. Thank you for the stillness that allows me to notice where I have been stretched thin. Thank you for the gentle nudge to realign, to recenter, to retreat for a moment so I can return with more of you. Father, may I live this day with clear eyes and a calm heart. Help me to know what is mine to carry and what belongs to you. Let me love deeply without losing myself. Let me serve faithfully without burning out. Let me give freely from a place that has first been filled by you. This is not selfishness, it is sacred responsibility. For when I am whole, I become a vessel of healing, not striving. Let this morning be the moment I redraw the lines, not out of fear or frustration, but out of reverence. Reverence for the life you have given me. Reverence for the calling you have placed on my path. Reverence for the people I have been entrusted with. Boundaries are not barriers to love. They are its guardians. May I honor that truth in thought, word, and practice. I choose today to walk with integrity in how I spend my time, in whom I open my heart to, in what I allow to influence my mind. I choose to protect the sacred spaces within me where your presence dwells. I choose to say yes to rest, no to chaos, and always to you. And as I walk through this day, may each step be taken within the sacred boundary of grace, a knowing that I am neither too much nor not enough, but simply yours, guarded, guided, and deeply loved. God, after learning to honor sacred boundaries and protect the spaces where you dwell within me, I begin to recognize something deeper, a question that has lingered behind every yes and no, behind every pause and pursuit. Who am I, truly, when all expectations fall silent and the noise of performance fades? In this stillness, I bring you my longing not to be defined by roles, reactions, or responsibilities, but to be rooted in something unshakable. My soul reaches for the truth of my identity, not one shaped by striving, but one whispered by you alone. Father, there have been many voices that tried to tell me who I am. Some shouted from childhood wounds, others from society's demands. Some came disguised as praise, others as criticism. I have carried labels I did not choose, worn masks I forgot I had on, and walked roads meant for someone else. At times, I have been a mirror for other people as needs, losing the contours of my own soul in the process. But you, Lord, are not confused about who I am. You formed me in quiet, knew me before I spoke, and called me by name when no one else was watching. Let me hear that name again, not the one shaped by fear or ambition, but the one that lives deep within. Echoing your intention for me, let it rise above the roles I play, the titles I hold, and the mistakes I have made. Let it rise above the applause and the silence, the acceptance and the rejection. You do not call me by what I have done or failed to do. You call me beloved. That word alone shifts everything. I have spent seasons trying to earn worth. I thought if I was good enough, helpful enough, impressive enough, then I would be enough. But chasing approval only left me breathless and fragmented. I see now that true belonging is not something to win. It is something to receive. It comes not when I become more, but when I return to who I already am in you. Help me release the false identities that cling like shadows. The image of the one who never needs help. The achiever. The fixer. The peacekeeper. The one who never disappoints. These roles may bring moments of praise, but they cannot hold the weight of my soul. Strip away what is not eternal. Strip away what I have worn to feel accepted. Beneath it all, let there be the quiet freedom of simply being yours. Lord, remind me that identity is not built on comparison. I do not need to measure my worth against someone else's journey. I do not need to reflect another person's light to feel seen. You have written my name in the palm of your hand, not a copy, not a version, but a masterpiece uniquely known and endlessly loved. When I forget this, I run after roles that exhaust me. But when I return to it, I move through the world with peace and purpose. Let me live from identity, not for it. Let me serve, love, and give not to prove, but because I am already secure. Let my actions be a reflection, not a negotiation. When I know who I am, I no longer need to grasp or defend. I can simply abide. There is a restfulness in identity, a rhythm that is not rushed, a confidence that does not compete. Anchor me in that rhythm today. There will still be voices trying to redefine me, voices of failure, of regret, of insecurity. Sometimes they come not from others, but from my own wary heart. In those moments, let me hold fast to what you have spoken. Let me build my house on that rock, not shifting sand. Let your truth be louder than my doubt, deeper than my shame, and stronger than the storms. Teach me to walk into each space as someone already named and claimed. I am not searching for identity, I am living from it. I am not defined by my job, my status, or even my circumstances. I am not who I was in my worst moment. I am not even who others believe me to be. I am who you say I am. Let this truth shape how I speak, how I carry myself, how I respond to the world. There is power in living from identity. It frees me from performance. It shields me from manipulation. It grounds me in grace. I do not need to prove, explain, or impress. I only need to stay connected to you. For in you, I am whole. In you, I am seen. In you, I am not lost, I am found. Again and again. Let me bless others from this place, not by pretending or posturing, but by being fully present. When I know who I am, I do not need to take up too much space, nor do I shrink back in fear. I can offer kindness without strings, truth without arrogance, and love without losing myself. I can celebrate others without envy and grieve without shame. This is the fruit of a life rooted in you. Today, as I move through tasks and interactions, help me return often to this center. When I feel pulled to become something I am not, let me pause. When I feel pressured to perform or please, let me return. When I feel forgotten or unseen, Remind me again of your gaze that never turns away. The world may forget, mislabel, or misunderstand, but you never do. Thank you for the journey of remembering. Thank you for the layers you are gently peeling back. Thank you for the identity that is not fragile, not trendy, and not subject to human approval. Thank you for the deep, abiding truth that I belong to you, and in that belonging, I lack nothing. Let that truth shape this day not in loud declarations, but in quiet assurance. Let it show in how I breathe, how I listen, how I love. Let it be the lens through which I see others, too, not as competitors or threats, but as fellow image bearers on their own journey home. When I know who I am, I can make space for others to remember who they are too. Father, I receive this day as a chance not to reinvent myself, but to return to the original blessing. Return to the quiet center. Return to the identity that cannot be earned or lost. Let that be enough. Let that be my compass. Let that be the beginning and end of every step I take. Lord, as I rest in the truth of who I am in you, I realize how easy it is to drift away from the present moment. Even when I know I am loved, even when I feel grounded in identity, something within me still tries to outrun now. My thoughts scatter to regrets of yesterday or fears of tomorrow. My body is here, but my soul wanders. I come to you not just asking for clarity, but for the strength to remain in this moment, this sacred now, where you dwell with me. Father, there are times I move through the day as though I am chasing a finish line I cannot see. I eat without tasting, speak without hearing, sit without noticing the ground beneath me. I rush from one thing to the next, believing peace waits on the other side of completion. But it never does. The task ends, and another begins. The silence arrives, and I fill it again. I confess that staying present feels uncomfortable. It means being honest with what is, not just what I wish to fix or escape. But you are not found in what was or what might be. You are here. Always here. Not ahead of me in the next plan, or buried behind me in some memory. You whisper in the stillness of this very breath, asking nothing more than my attention. And yet I so often offer you only pieces, moments, when I feel spiritual enough or strong enough. But now, in this quiet space, I offer you the whole of me. Distracted, hopeful, worn, awake. Let me meet you in this exact moment and find you not distant, but near. Teach me, God, how to slow the pace without guilt, how to watch sunlight move across the floor and see it not as wasted time, but holy time. Teach me to linger with people without hurrying the conversation, to listen with my full heart, not thinking of what I will say next, to pause before responding, to breathe before reacting, to allow wonder to take root where urgency once lived. Let me trust that nothing good grows in constant hurry. There is a temptation to believe that presence is a luxury, something reserved for peaceful seasons or empty schedules. But presence is not found in perfect conditions. It is a discipline of attention. It is the choice to stay when I want to run, to listen when I want to speak, to see when I want to close my eyes. Strength is not just loud and visible. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it looks like sitting with an ache I cannot solve, or rejoicing in a joy I am afraid to lose. I ask for that kind of strength today, not the strength to impress or accomplish, but the strength to remain open when I feel vulnerable, to remain soft when the world hardens, to remain grounded when everything around me spins. I want to be here, Lord, fully here, in this conversation, in this body, in this unfolding story, even when it is messy, even when it is uncertain. I do not want to miss the life you are giving me while longing for a life that only exists in my imagination. Remind me that the present moment is not empty, it is full of your presence, full of lessons, full of quiet invitations. There is always something sacred happening, even in the mundane, even in the waiting room, the grocery aisle, the quiet kitchen. Let me be awake enough to see it. Let me be present enough to receive it. Let me not rush past the miracle of being alive today. When anxiety tries to drag me forward, help me return to now. When sorrow tries to pull me backward, help me return again. Let returning be my practice. Not perfection, not endless progress, just the quiet return to here, to you, again and again. For here is where healing begins. Here is where peace is planted. Here is where love takes root. When I am tempted to numb the moment, to scroll, distract, overwork, or withdraw, remind me that presence is not about productivity. It is about connection. Help me choose connection over control, curiosity over certainty, gratitude over grasping. I do not want to miss the softness of my child's voice, the kindness in a stranger's glance, the way wind moves through trees. These are not interruptions. They are reminders. And when pain visits the present, let me not push it away too quickly. Let me sit with it, not to suffer unnecessarily, but to listen, to learn what it reveals. Maybe sorrow is not the enemy, but a doorway to deeper compassion. Maybe silence is not a void, but an echo of things too tender to be spoken. Maybe presence is not about escaping discomfort, but embracing truth without fear. I want to be someone who notices, who remembers the taste of joy, who honors what is unfolding instead of demanding what should be, who carries peace, not by controlling the outcome, but by being rooted in presence. Let me reflect your stillness, Lord, not in perfection, but in awareness. Let people feel seen when they are with me, not because I have the answers, but because I am truly there. There is beauty in staying. There is courage in not fleeing the moment. There is worship in wonder. As I move into today, let me not wish for another life, another version, another time. Let me show up to this one, this body, this story, this breath, for it is here that grace meets me, not in the future I long to reach, not in the past I wish to rewrite, but in the imperfect, holy, fragile now. And when I feel I am drifting, when I find myself rehearsing old fears or rushing into imagined scenarios, draw me back with gentleness, with the sound of birdsong, the warmth of tea, the smile of a friend, with the quiet reminder that I am not behind, I am not too late, I am not missing out, I am here, and here is sacred. Let my life be a prayer of presence. Let it be unhurried, unclenched, unwavering in attention. Let it bear witness to the wonder of what is, even when it is hard. Let my yes to this moment echo louder than all my fears. I do not want to escape the day you have made. I want to dwell fully within it, trusting that you have already gone before me and are here still. So I choose to stay. Stay open. Stay tender. Stay grounded, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. This is where life is. This is where you are, and that is enough. Father, as I lean into the quiet hush that follows presence, I realize how many beginnings are waiting quietly beneath the surface of every ending, just as I learn to stay rooted in the now. I sense the quiet stirring of something new, fragile, hesitant, but alive. It is here, in this tender ground of presence, that I find the courage not just to remain, but to begin again, not because I have conquered the past or perfected myself, but because you are the God of fresh starts, of mercies that rise with the sun. There is something both beautiful and terrifying about beginning again. It asks me to trust, to loosen my grip on what has already shaped me, and to believe that becoming is not a betrayal of where I have been. It is an honoring of the life still unfolding. I am not the same as yesterday, and that is not failure, it is growth. Beginning again does not mean erasing the past. It means carrying its wisdom gently into what is next, without letting it weigh me down or wall me in. Lord, sometimes the hardest part is not knowing how to begin. I want to wait for certainty, for perfect alignment, for the moment when all my fears disappear. But you do not ask me to leap with full confidence. You ask me only to take one small step, to breathe deeply and move forward, even with trembling hands, to trust that each new start, however quiet or unseen, carries within it the seeds of transformation. You do not rush me, but you do invite me into a new way of thinking, a new way of loving, a new way of forgiving even myself. Give me the strength to begin again in relationships I have let grow cold, in dreams I have buried too soon, in habits that once gave life but have since withered. Let me see the ordinary as a canvas for rebirth. A conversation, a sunrise, a second chance. You are the artist who never tires of adding color to blank spaces. Teach me to see with the same hope. I know I will stumble. I know I will doubt. Some days will feel like progress, others like retreat. But beginning again is not a straight path, it is a spiral. A return, again and again, to the heart of who I am becoming in you. I am not the sum of my mistakes or the echo of my regrets. I am being renewed, not in theory, but in action, in my willingness to show up imperfectly and keep going. I do not need to know what the entire road looks like. I only need to see the next step. There are areas of my life that feel barren, soil that has not produced fruit in a long time, places where hope has gone quiet. I bring them to you now, not with demands, but with openness, with a willingness to believe that growth can happen even here, that the ground of disappointment is not wasted ground. You are still tilling it, still watering it, still working beneath the surface. Let me be patient as I begin again in these places, knowing the harvest is slow but sure. Lord, help me begin again in the way I speak to myself. Let my inner voice be laced with kindness, not shame, with truth, not fear. Let me catch the harsh narratives I have adopted and replace them with the voice of your Spirit, gentle, firm, loving. When I falter, do not let me retreat into silence or self-condemnation. Let me begin again with compassion, knowing that even the most faithful hearts forget sometimes. But forgetting is not the end. Remembering is always an option. Help me begin again in the rhythms of my days, to return to what nourishes me, to rest when I need rest, to say yes when it is mine to give, and no when it is not. Let my calendar reflect my convictions. Let my habits reflect my hope. I do not need to remake my entire life overnight, but I can begin again with one choice, one prayer, one act of courage. You meet me in the smallest turnings. You celebrate every return. God, let this new beginning not be driven by pressure, but by possibility, not by striving, but by surrender. I am not chasing an ideal version of myself. I am returning to the true version you already see, the one who is whole even while becoming. Let me begin again in love, to believe that I am worthy of loving and being loved. Even when I have failed or faltered, let me offer love freely again. Even when I have been hurt before, let me not close off the parts of my heart that long to open. There is no shame in starting over. There is only grace, grace that says, try again. Grace that picks me up when I have grown tired of my own voice. Grace that speaks gently in the mess, not just after it is cleaned. I have started and stopped 100 times, but you never stopped watching. You never stopped waiting. You are not impatient with me. You are not disappointed in the pauses. You are still here, still inviting me forward. And even when beginning again looks like the smallest act, making the bed, whispering a prayer, forgiving a grudge, picking up the pen, it matters. Nothing is too small to be sacred when is done with a surrendered heart. I do not need to impress you. I need only to begin wherever I am, with whatever I have. There is no formula, only faith. So if today brings me back to something I thought I left behind, help me walk in again with soft eyes. If today calls me to release something I once clung to, help me let go with peace. If today invites me to risk, to speak, to try, to rise, let me do so with trust, even if I feel unsure, even if I feel unready. Readiness is not a requirement for obedience. All I need is the will to respond. You are the God of the morning and the midnight, the God of the restart, the reset, the rewrite. Every breath is a threshold. Every heartbeat is a welcome. Let me not fear the blank page. Let me greet it with gratitude. Not everything must stay broken. Not every story must end in sorrow. Some things can be rebuilt. Some things can be redeemed. And some things, maybe the most beautiful things, can only begin again. And so I come, not with a perfect plan, but with a willing heart, not with resolutions, but with receptivity, not with certainty, but with hope. Let me walk gently into today, knowing that this moment is a doorway, that this step is enough, that this beginning, however fragile, is still real, still holy, still blessed. Let the courage to begin again be my anthem. Let it hum beneath every action. Let it carry me through the failures, the fears, the fatigue. Let it remind me that you are not finished with me, that this is not the end of the story, that even here, even now, there is more to be written, and it begins not with answers, with a simple yes. Yes to today, yes to love, yes to you, God. In the quiet stillness of this morning, I return once more not to close a chapter, but to open my heart to what continues beyond it. I do not arrive at the end of something, but rather the threshold of something deeper, something unseen. These days of prayer have not been about reaching a destination. They have been a way of walking with you, breath by breath, step by step, learning how to stay close in both silence and song. What has unfolded here within me cannot be measured in checklists or counted by accomplishments. It has grown in the unseen soil, patience where there was striving, peace where there was noise, hope where there was heaviness. Slowly, gently, something sacred has taken root, not because I have mastered prayer or perfected faith, because you meet me in every honest return. I have come as I am, and you have not turned away, as I reflect on all that has been spoken, whispered, and held in these moments with you. I realize that prayer was never about the words alone. It was about presence. It was about listening beneath the surface of life, about discovering you not only in mountaintop clarity, but also in the mundane, in the aching, in the waiting. And as I move forward, I carry that awareness with me not as a memory, but as a companion. There will still be days when I forget, days when fear speaks louder than faith, when I lose sight of what is true. But now I know how to return. I know how to pause, to breathe, to whisper even the smallest yes. I am not walking alone. You have become the rhythm under my restlessness, the silence that anchors my uncertainty, the steady presence that does not flinch at my questions or failures. This journey has taught me to stop measuring progress by the world's standards. I do not need to be impressive. I need to be present. I do not need to prove my worth. I need to remember that I am already held. The strength I seek is not a sudden surge of power. It is the quiet resilience to keep choosing light, to keep choosing love, to keep choosing trust, even when the road ahead is misted with unknowns. There is no final arrival in this life of faith. There is only deeper surrender. Not the kind that gives up, but the kind that gives in to what is real and holy and alive. I surrender again today not because I have no strength, but because I trust in yours. I release the pressure to be perfect. I release the fear of doing it wrong. I release the weight of needing to have it all figured out. And in that release, I find room to breathe. Thank you for walking with me through the dark valleys, the quiet mornings, the hidden fears. Thank you for hearing even the prayers I could not speak, for understanding what my tears tried to say, for remaining when I was tired of showing up. You have been faithful, not just in grand gestures, but in the quiet mercies that met me where I least expected. As I step beyond this sacred rhythm into the ordinary unfolding of days, help me not to rush ahead. Let what has been planted continue to grow in silence. Let the words that have been spoken become actions of love. Let the peace that has been tasted become an anchor in chaos. Let this journey of prayer not end here, but ripple outward into how I live, how I see, how I give, and how I receive. Remind me that faith is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply not quitting. Sometimes it is just waking up and beginning again. Sometimes it is breathing in the quiet, knowing you are near. Let me become a bearer of stillness in a world that demands noise. Let me be a carrier of kindness in spaces that have grown sharp with fear. Let me be someone who does not just talk of love, but lives it slowly, honestly, without fear of imperfection. To the one who has journeyed through these words, I see you. I honor your willingness to show up day after day, even when it felt like nothing was changing. I know the courage it takes to keep praying when answers are not immediate, when pain lingers, when the road feels long. I know what it means to pray not because life is easy, but because hope is worth holding on to. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for making space in your heart for truth to take root. If this prayer has met you in a hidden corner of your story, I invite you to share it. Speak what is stirring in your heart. Let someone else know they are not alone. Write your reflections, your hopes, your quiet revelations in the space below. Every shared story becomes a light in the dark, a thread in the greater tapestry of faith. And if you found something true in these words, something healing, something holy, I invite you to carry it forward. Subscribe to this channel so you can return whenever you need to. Share it with someone who might be searching. Let this not be an end, but a continuation, a gentle encouragement to keep making room for God in the rhythm of your everyday life. Keep showing up. Keep praying even with trembling. Keep trusting the slow and sacred work happening beneath the surface. Even now, even here, something new is beginning. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it clearly. But like the light at the edge of the horizon, like the breeze that dances through the trees before the dawn, like the stream that hums quietly beneath the forest floor, it is moving. It is coming. And it carries the promise of morning.